Hello, everybody. It is Thursday, February the 11th, 2021, even though it's really an extension of 2020 because it's the same shit. But it is Cooperville Live. Thank you for joining into the program right away. Full day ahead of us today. Todd Whitener from the new band Blitzkrieg. Todd was a founding member of bands like Tantric and Days of the New. And really cool story about this band getting together. Really maybe wouldn't have happened without what's going down with the pandemic and lockdowns and all the other stuff. So Todd's going to be on coming up in under 10 minutes. Longtime friend, Joey Chicago Walser from Devour the Day and Egypt Central and his new company, Third Eye Hat Co. He is going to be on the program today. Andrew Calvino, fitness enthusiast, content inspire podcast host. He is going to be on. It's his first live podcast. So just reposted something on the Welcome to Cooperville Instagram page from him. So he's going to be on later this afternoon. And another podcast host, Joshua Toomey from the Talk Toomey podcast. He is going to be on later on this afternoon as well. So we have plenty to get to today. Plenty to talk about today. It seems like we're living in very strange times. And this probably isn't breaking news to anybody. It does feel like there was a time when I thought outside of having guests on the show and being able to have conversations with people, which is a lot what this is about. And obviously conversations with you, wherever you're listening, jump into the comments. Let me know where you're listening from or watching from, I should say. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So a lot of it is about conversation, but I never thought there'd be enough content in the world that would be able to fill like the downtime. The times where there's no guest on, where it's just you and me and little water. That's it. But in this day and age, it seems like there's plenty that's going on. It was yesterday, actually during the show, we were out during the show yesterday, and I jumped on and kind of checked out the news feed, see what was going on in the world. Larry Flynt died yesterday. Hustler magazine founder, proponent of the First Amendment and free speech, and really a guy that you either loved him or you hated him. There was not a lot of middle ground. You weren't like, yeah, Larry Flynt, founder of Hustler. So he passed away yesterday. If you're a dude, at some point you probably found like some Playboy magazines, right? Your dads or your brothers or your uncles, so at some point you're like, oh, look, good. And you're like, oh my gosh. Oh no. Oh yes. Oh no. It's a Playboy. Then maybe you found like a Penthouse magazine. That was probably your brother's, I think it was mine. My stepbrothers at the time. And you were like, oh, wow. Whoa. Like, there's A and then there's B. And then maybe at some point in your life, you came across a Hustler magazine and you're like, oh shit. Oh boy. This is real. This is, whoa. Larry Flynt was the guy that pushed all of those envelopes, he was always quoted about, talking about Penthouse and Playboy as like, art. They're just trying to be artsy and we're trying to be like dirty. And he just, The People versus Larry Flynt. Have you seen the movie? That was him. But Larry Flynt died yesterday. And, no, it saddens me. And I have this conversation a lot. And this is probably the same thing that like our parents had conversations with. They're like, oh, our kids will never know this. They'll never know that. Kids now will never know the feeling of fear and excitement when you stumbled across a, dirty magazine back in the day. They never know that, and how hard it was to get to that kind of content. Now it's, whatever. You tell your robot to turn some on. It's like, oh, here you go. Boom. This is what you wanted to see. This is what you're into. They probably already knows what you're into. Your Alexa device probably already knows what you're into. So you don't have to say much. Just be like, hey, Alexa, it's go time. Boom. Stuff just pops up, especially if you have one of those like the Echo Show. I got a couple of those. They'll never know. They'll never know that feeling of stumbling across something and being like, oh no, or like if you had, you didn't get the HBO or the Cinemax when you were a kid, but you had the old, either the switcher dial cable box. Remember that? The channel was there, but it was like blurred out. But if you timed it out right and you got there at a certain time, you had the TV Guide channel. Remember that? Go to the TV Guide channel and be like, oh, at 11:30, Cinemax is playing like Naughty Teacher. And you would go to that and like it would be all blurry and, discombobulated, and you wouldn't be able to actually see what it was. I mean, kids say they'll never have that experience. And, finding your dad's stash of dirty magazines or trying to watch naughty Skinemax movies after dark when it was all blurred out and stuff. Our children will never be able to experience those kind of things. Let's talk to their robots and poof, it'll show up. It's like that. They'll never know those magical moments in life, to be a kid again. But yes, Larry Flint passing away yesterday. It's amongst many things that we'll get into discussion with on the show today. There's so much going on in the world, and it's nice to find, as I see Todd is jumped in the green room right now. We're going to bring him in. It's nice to find that there is actually good things that have come out of the pandemic. And Todd Whitener's here from Blitzkrieg. How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing great. Can you hear me okay?
I can. You sound great. And it's great to have you on. I'm excited to have great conversation with you. But the reason I led into that there's some good that comes out of having to go through the strangest time of your life, of my life. Anybody who's currently roaming the face of the earth has never really experienced this. But you guys in Blitzkrieg, it seems like without this project maybe doesn't happen.
I think that's probably correct, because our lives we were in totally different places in our lives, not only personally but geographically. I mean, Donald the singer is outside of Dallas. I'm here in Nashville. The other two guys, Jesse and Matt, are in southern Indiana. And without the world coming to a screeching halt, I don't see how we find the time to gather up here in the studio and make what we had happen.
It's so cool, man. I mean, it's great to find these kind of stories, because they're never the ones that are, that are publicly talked about. It's never, you don't go through your Facebook page and go, oh, look at all these great stories. It's always like doom and gloom, but it's nice to have some positivity and music come out of this. And it's something I brought up with a lot of my guests. Do you find that because you've had time, you've had, there's not a lot of shows going on. There's not much of anything going on. Has it added to not just getting you all together, but also the creative process, because there's a lack of outside distraction?
That's safe to say. There's nothing like turmoil that can create good inspiration for songs. And whether it be personal life turmoil or social turmoil like we've got in our world, how it just seems like everything has just been thrown upside down and upended. And it's a great place to be if you want to try to make a difference for and I like to be a glass half full kind of guy. So like when we write music, I like to write for something positive, something uplifting that somebody can get out of it.
I mean, bliss, it's right in the name, it's right there. It's got good vibes all around it. Now you guys have an album coming out towards the end of the month on the 22nd, Remedy, and I want to talk about that. But you've had, a career in music. This is not your first rodeo. You've been and done all the things, found, being a part of Tantric, being a part of the Days of the New. When you look back at that career, how has you were able to put a record together during these really weird times. And how has the technology really opened things up compared to what it was, back when you kind of first got started in putting music out?
We certainly use technology to our advantage, because I noted earlier our geographical limitations. We use everything from the notes on our phones and recording voice memos and sending voice memos back and forth to using the different social media platforms to send video messages back and forth of ideas. And that's how the seeds were planted originally, with certain ideas as far as the writing process goes anyway. And the rest of it still came old school. Everybody came in here to the studio, and we gathered up, we huddled up in a circle, and we just like dumped our hearts out.
That's so cool. I mean, I think to be able to embrace technology during all of this, but still, I mean, does anything beat that feel of the band in the studio? I mean, I feel like it feels like as much as you can do, guys can lay down, you can lay down guitar parts here and send it to, the bass line and the drum, and then the vocalists come in and cut everything. It can be done. It has been done. This is probably expedited that process over the last year now. But is there anything better than that feel of a band in the studio and just the way things vibe and the way things feel?
I don't think so. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's nothing like feeding off of each other's energy in the same room. You just can't recreate that when you're sending notes and video messages and things like that back and forth, because sometimes the creation is in the process and being with someone at that moment and feeding off of each other's energy. So I think for at least us, it was a necessary component. Yeah. And it was awesome.
So tell me about putting this record together. I know it's, I'm so glad you guys got a chance to be in a studio for this. Cause you hear some of the things that aren't done in the studio, and I did radio for 20 years. I'm like, yeah, I can kind of tell, it's not that feeling isn't around it. But tell me about putting this album together and releasing it here towards the end of the month on all digital platforms.
Thanks, man. So, well, I'll say as far as the process goes, I really, the one thing that I had in my mind that I wanted to accomplish, because we tried not to put barriers around ourselves creatively. We didn't try to feed into what people might expect from us. So let's write something like this. We tried to get rid of all of that the best that we could and just like let it all flow out. But the one thing that I latched onto was I wanted to recapture, you mentioned Days of the New, and when we started in Days of the New, for example, we were all analog. And what I mean, for the people who aren't necessarily privy to like studio life, it was like there were no computers involved. It was like tape machines, reel to reel, spinning tape. When you practice like nonstop before you go in the studio, because when you get in the studio, you're going to waste tape if you get in there and you're not prepared, and it's really, it's like capturing a moment, and you have to be prepared for that moment. But there's beauty in that too. And I think when I listen back to all the older records, like, I think the beauty for me are the imperfections, like that, that certain vocal note wasn't 100% auto-tuned and perfect. That certain guitar lick maybe, wasn't put under the microscope and made absolutely seamless. It had a little bit of this, a little bit of hair on it, so to speak. But I think that's the beauty of capturing a moment. And so we actually set out to purposely do that and not overthink even the process of it. And we wanted to, I used as much analog gear as I could. I didn't use any auto tune. I got in here and we just like literally tried to do it the best we could, minus the tape aspect of it. We did the rest of it as old school as we could. And just, if there was an imperfection, then it lived there. And that was part of the character of the music. And I to me, it speaks to me, and I love hearing that myself. So we really embraced that aspect of it.
I think that's super cool. Those tape recorders, those are probably hard to come by these days. You have to go on eBay or something and try to find one that hopefully works.
You better believe it. I mean, they cost an arm and a leg anymore because it's like a novelty.
It's all retro, like it's, they put that stuff in museums. They're like, what? And you try to, like to show a newer band or someone who's only been around when it's been digital, they're like, I wouldn't understand how to press play on this machine. Like, I don't know, where's the record? But you got to hold down play and record at the same time. That's how it's done. Come on. There's a way to do this. That's so cool.
I love it, man. But everything always, it's cyclical, right? Everything always
Right.
comes back, what they say.
No, and that's a good thing, I think, is and I want to get your kind of your overview of the rock landscape right now, because again, I did rock radio for 2 decades of my life, from when I was a teenager until I was not a teenager anymore, very well past teenage years. So I have obviously my view of the ebbs and flows of the music scene right now. What are your, when you like, take an outsider's perspective on, and you look at as a whole, like, does it have the same? Because I feel like with especially Days of the New, because I mean it was I think you talked about imperfections, but it was just kind of dirty rock and roll. It just felt, you could feel it. You could feel the emotion, you could feel the riffs, you could feel the drums, you just kind of felt it. And there are some bands that still, I think, carry that torch to an extent, but what are your thoughts on, the current landscape of rock radio and rock music?
It's funny because there was a point, and I can't really nail down in the timeline where exactly it was, but I kind of checked out of modern rock
Mm.
music. Not to say that there's nothing worth listening to. I just kind of felt that there was a time period where there was an abundance of, it seemed like a lot of kind of copy and paste kind of stuff
Mm.
going on. And it just wasn't moving me, and I was ready to explore some other stuff anyway, and make some new musical discoveries. And I kind of
Mm.
checked out, but my go-to has always been, and still to this day, I have an affliction for like the 90s into
Mm.
early 2000s rock music, man. I mean, still to this day, any day of the week, you can find me listening to like STP Core record,
Mm.
any Alice in Chains album, especially like Pearl Jam's first album, Temple of the Dog, like stuff
Yeah.
in that kind of landscape is like still near and dear to my heart. And I never grew tired of that, man. I can still listen to that nonstop. So that's kind of where I am. I'm a little bit stuck in the past in those regards, but I say it shamelessly.
Right. I think it's, I'm not sure there's a better spot to be. I mean, if you look at that time period, when you look at the early to mid to late 90s, even crossing over into the 2000s, that decade plus of music changed the landscape of kind of what rock was. Because we all remember the 80s. Well, some of us that are watching remember the 80s. And like when the Motley Crues and the Def Leppards of the world, and it was party, 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 the strategic heavy hitting song followed by a ballad to get the girls into the concert, followed by another heavy hitter, and then when that grunge, that kind of Nirvana sound came out, I mean, it just changed music. I mean, all of a sudden you have artists, talking about things that are real and relative, and nobody was living like Motley Crue. No, everybody just wanted to. They was want, like, I want to live like that. That's why I want to be in music, because I don't know what they're doing, but it seems to be the right formula. But like, when that 90s sound came out, from all the bands you talked about, I mean, that STP album is still one of my all-time favorites. And
Oh,
it was that
too.
time when you could when people used to listen to the whole album from first song to last song, not just the 4 or 5 that got released. Yeah, man, I miss those days. I miss just popping in a cassette tape for the kids, a CD maybe when it got to be a little bit later. But that is when, like, the rock music, I think, really owned itself. It was in its own groove. There was some stuff that maybe sounded a little bit similar with the grunge sound, but everybody was, I mean, there's no mistaking Temple of the Dog or Soundgarden with anybody,
That's exactly right.
their
I mean,
own entity.
I think one of the biggest favors that I did for myself recently, alluding to your notion that you would sit down and experience music as in its entirety when you would put on an album. Over the holidays, I got myself a record player that I haven't owned a record player in forever. So I started a vinyl collection again. And one of my favorite things outside of, I'm kind of an analog nerd, so I love just like hearing all the, the older stuff recorded analog, but it forces you to sit there and experience the music as it was intended, as one piece of art, like from beginning to end, and you can't just, in this ADD world that we all do this, popping through the playlist, go from this to this to this, forces you to experience it in one sitting. And they're actually, I wouldn't have been able to attest to this before I bought a record player, but there really is something to that. Like some of my favorite records I got, I didn't even realize what a big Genesis fan I am until I started picking up Genesis albums, and I was like forcing myself to listen to the whole, I mean, not forcing myself, but due to the nature of having an album sitting there and spinning on vinyl, you listen to the whole thing. And I realized, man, these guys are incredible. And like, it's totally been mind-blowing and opening my mind to a whole nother sonic landscape that I probably never would have dived into had it not been for the vinyl.
Yeah, and that vinyl, like the resurgence of vinyl over the last couple of years it's been really cool to see, just because you talked about that, the ADD world that we live in. I mean, most of us are just yelling at the robot to play the next song. We're like, hey, robot, play, the song that's in your head. And I think everybody thinks that they're a really good DJ. They're like, oh yeah, like I want to hear this song. But if you don't want to have that, that mess going on in your head, you're like, just put on a record, because it's really hard to find the next song, man. Like,
it is. I gave up trying to do that.
You're skipping over stuff. You're like, no, back it up. So it's a challenge. So you're almost, not forced, but you're blessed to be able to just sit down and let that record play and feel it. And you got, and it's not this super crisp, high def, sound. It sounds like dirty rock and roll, which is how it should sound.
I love it. Yeah, there's nothing like it. I feel like there is something magical about the tone of vinyl spinning and that needle, even the imperfections of hearing the dust accumulate on the needle and everything. There's just something to it. It's so nostalgic, and it's awesome. I could listen to them all day.
No, it's really cool. That's made a comeback and actually keeping, a physical. I mean, obviously a lot of this stuff is available online, but if you want to find a music store nowadays, it's not like the old days when it was like, well, here's the tapes and here's the CDs, and they all came in that plastic thing. It took like 4 guys and a torque wrench to get open. Remember that? Like,
they were the worst, man. I would always break the case of my tape because I never had the secret solution. Like, I'd always end up with a chip of that plastic missing.
And then eventually the hinges would kind of loosen, and you'd be like, oh, no, and then you'd lose the cover art and all the magic that went on with cover art. But I mean, now at least when you see, and the cool thing about it is a lot of it's like locally owned stuff. So in your town, in my town, there's like a local record store, and it's all vinyl. That is super cool to see.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read somewhere that actually vinyl, for the first time in decades, it surpassed it surpassed CD sales. So now it's outside of digital, it's like, I believe, the second leading musical revenue as far as purchasing music.
I think it's amazing that that's the thing that came back. I mean, everybody thought as soon as CDs came out, we're like, well, we're done with tape. And then MP3s, it was like, oh, well, I got remember the MP3 player? Like, that was the most inconvenient. Yeah. Like, I don't even know how this works. But to have vinyl, the biggest thing, the biggest, source of music, besides like having a reel-to-reel in your house, which again, we talked about, is probably a little more expensive than getting a record player. But that's what's, I think, even more iconic about it is it's the big, vinyl record, big sleeve. You get the double one. It opens up like a giant, Christmas book. And that's the thing that comes back. I think that's just fantastic, man.
Oh yeah. That's always a gift too, man. The album artwork, and you get to read all the little liner notes and all the special stuff that you would never see.
Do you remember putting together liner notes and stuff, and obviously the lyrics inside of, the CD case or the tape case, and every band member got to do the thank yous, like, I want to thank mom and dad and my brother Jerry, all that stuff. Like, all that stuff has been lost on people.
Totally, man. Totally. We're talking about and trying to figure out a way to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. Just don't have our plan nailed down yet, but we're going to do a vinyl pressing of this album. It's just going to be a late release. It won't come out at the same time that the digital release will be out here on the 22nd. But we want to take advantage of those little things when we do the vinyl pressing, the liner notes and all the cool stuff, that the way albums used to be.
Oh, artwork. And I remember the Appetite for Destruction. I think I had the cassette. I remember having the cassette when Appetite came out, and my mom found it. And it's the alien, inappropriate alien lady scene in
the girl on the street, on the sidewalk.
Inappropriate circumstances. I think we'll keep it PG for the kids. I remember she found that, and she took the liner. I mean, she took the insert and like left the tape though. She's like, whatever, go ahead and listen to, go listen to Mr. Brownstone, but don't be looking at this drawing of an alien, whatever, with a woman. Don't look at that, but go ahead. She doesn't know that's what ruined me.
Yeah, there were definitely a few of those hiding from the parents.
Oh, so many. Todd, really excited, man. Thank you so much for jumping on here and talking. Can't wait till the album drops. It's just coming out on the 22nd on all digital platforms. I know you guys are doing a great job on social media as well, embracing the new and still the old of the things that are out there. But no, I'm so happy that even though all this was going on, that it opened up some methods for you guys to all get together and put music out. And I'm excited to hear the whole thing, man.
Oh, Cooper, thank you. And thank you for having me on here and giving us a platform to tell the world about what we're doing. And feels good to be making music again. That's for sure.
I bet it does. It keeps a smile on your face during, times when sometimes it's tough to find a reason. You're like, oh, wait, I can still create magical things. Still can create the music. That's awesome. And we appreciate it as fans.
Music is the filling of my glass half full.
That's awesome. Todd, take care of yourself. All the best, and good luck on the release. Looking forward to it coming out here in a couple of weeks, man.
Thank you, Cooper. Appreciate you. I'll be back anytime you want me.
Hey, we'll be in touch. I promise.
All right. Sounds good, man. Have a good one, buddy.
Take care, my friend. Awesome. There's Todd Whitener from Bliss Craig. Bliss. They're bringing bliss, and we all need bliss in our lives these days, don't we? We're just living in this crazy world of cancel culture and sometimes shitty music. But he's bringing it back. Bliss Craig. Check him out on, I tagged a bunch of stuff of theirs on my Instagram and on the Welcome to Cooperville Instagram. So definitely go follow them. Follow Todd. Just great. I'm talking about vinyl, man. How cool is that vinyl was the thing that is everything old is new again? It's like, imagine they brought back the 8-track. I can't play this. What do I do? Put this in the thing? Records though, man. That's the way to go about it. Just ahead of 3:30 here, we got Joey Chicago Walser from Devour the Day in Egypt Central going to join the program here in just a bit. There was some video that went around of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl parade. Now, because it's Tampa Bay, they did the parade all on boats. Just boats in the harbor. Okay, that wasn't Boston. Boats in the harbor, as they say in Florida. So all the players and all their families and girlfriends and random people all on boats. And a couple of great videos of this. There was one where Tom Brady has the Lombardi trophy, right? TB12 has the Lombardi trophy. Even in that video, it looked like TB12 was enjoying some cocktails, which is totally awesome. He should relax, have fun, enjoy it. 7th Super Bowl, dude. Have fun. And from boat to boat, I think Gronk was on the boat in behind him. So Tom Brady's on the back of his boat, Gronk and a bunch of people on the other boat behind him. And he throws, they're going down they're in the water, throws the Lombardi trophy from boat to boat. Luckily it's caught and safe and secure, but that wasn't even the highlight. The highlight was the video that's posted on the Welcome to Cooperville Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, go and click the link and check that out. The great part was as they're exiting the boats, and I think they were going to a different part of the party, like the wrap up, the finale, where everybody's going to speak and do the things. And you see Tom Brady coming through a gate and a bunch of reporters and people taking pictures and stuff. And he is just hammered. I mean, you can tell he's got a guy holding him as he's walking. My post was something like, do you remember Weeble Wobbles? Remember the Weeble Wobble? You'd push him one way and then he'd rock back. Totally had that thing going on. It was fantastic. And then there was another video of him and he's holding his daughter and he's like giving the peace sign to, I think it was Antoine Whitfield Jr. It was just, they were having fun. They were having fun. You know what? Outside of Tom Brady, who's 43, you got a bunch of these guys who are like in their 20s and they're athletes and they take care of themselves and they supplement the right way. They're healthy people. And what happened? What happened? The fallouts. Oh, the comments and the vitriol of you're not wearing masks. And I can't believe Tom Brady is drinking and he's drinking and it's not okay. And he's not wearing a mask and he's having fun. The vitriol in the comment section of any of those, but you can find a ton of those videos, but go to the ones that I posted on the Welcome to Cooperville page on Facebook. It's just ridiculous. I mean, of all things, those athletes have, access to all the things that will keep their immune system fairly healthy. I mean, the fact that they pulled off basically an entire season, made some adjustments. Yeah. And there were some cases and some teams had worse outbreaks than others. Most of that was just contact cases. They did a freaking 17-week season, did 4 weeks of playoffs, had a Super Bowl with 22,000 people. No, the keyboard warriors were out in full force. They were out and they were yelling. Well, not yelling. They were typing and being mad. Just, I'm so mad. I'm going to type things and I'm going to type. If I type louder, I bet they can hear me. Tom Brady doesn't care. He doesn't care. He tweeted something like, too many avocado tequilas. He doesn't care. He don't care. Then I'm going to be angry. I'm going to type things. I'm going to be angry about it. I'm going to get to some of those comments later on in the show. The ridiculousness of it is just insane. I got to double send this this link to my friend Joey because he didn't see it. So we will do this. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump on here. We're going to take a short break, come back with Joey Walser of Devour the Day and Egypt Central and Third Eye Hat Cut. And we're back. Waiting on Joey Walser from Devour the Day, and Egypt Central just resent him the link to join up. So he's got that, and he'll be in just a bit. But as I was talking about before we went to the break there, the whole the whole fallout. Man, the people are just. This is about the Tom Brady being intoxicated and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their Super Bowl parade, and the boats and the no masks. I don't know. It's crazy. We'll get to some of those comments here coming up in just a bit. I just think it's wild. Like, let the guy have fun. He's 43 years old. He's won his 7th Super Bowl. Let the man have a little fun. So what if he got a little couple of cocktails there? He's going to be fine. There he is. Look at that.
Hey, how you doing?
Joey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Doing well. How are you?
I'm good, man. Sorry about that link. I maybe got lost in your trash or something, or in the.
Yeah, I don't know. No worries. Glad to be here.
How are things, my friend?
Honestly, things are going really, really well. It's kind of crazy that I'm busier than I've ever been, and there's no touring in my life. Mm-hmm. Like, that seems such a strange thing to say. But in the pandemic, I just feel like last year we all really needed to learn to diversify, and Blake and I had already done so many things and had so many dreams kind of waiting in the works that when the shift happens, it just kind of opened things up for us. And so it's been awesome, man, but a lot of work, so
that's a good thing though. Cause you're not, you're in the minority of artists that took this time to do that sort of thing, to diversify and find new things to do. And, you got Egypt Central, you obviously have Devour the Day, you got Third Eye Hat Company, which dude, that's badass. I'm just saying.
Thank you. I'm repping it now, man. I appreciate it.
See that. I love it. But so you've taken this time and taken advantage of the lack of touring. Cause I mean, let's be honest, that's what you guys were doing. I mean, if there was something open, Devour the Day was out playing, you guys were doing shows. It was a constant thing and putting music out, but to take this time and really maximize it. I mean, kudos to you and to Blake.
Well, I am very, very lucky to have, someone in my life like Blake because, for whatever it is, fate, like he is so talented at all the things that I am not talented at. And so it's just for him to be my best friend. And then, now we're going on 20 years of creating together. And we definitely had like I guess what they call a come to Jesus moment 2 or 3 years ago before the pandemic even happened. Like just looking at the touring landscape, looking at the way the radio was changing, looking at the way active rock in general was changing, the way the music industry was changing. And after 15 years, kind of saying, hey, is this really what we want to do? Blake and I have a lot going on with film and TV and music licensing and stuff like that too. So, but I think that conversation led to, we just want to wake up and create every day. I don't even know what that is. And then over the course of the last year, I think people are really starting to understand that you can be a creator, and that is kind of something that you can't necessarily define and don't have to anymore. You can just be all the things that you are in your niche and go out there and find people that are like you. And so for me, it's just awesome because I'm here watching my kids grow up and I'm creating more than I've ever created. So in that way, I'm just really excited about 2021 because we have tons of new music from both bands. We have a brand new deal we just did. We have the hat company, obviously, which is really cool, but it's also the functionality of the fact that I wear hats every day. And, I love skater stuff, but I don't skate anymore. So I just feel like a poser. I was like, I need to make something up that feels like skater gear, but that you're not going to get jumped in the park. Like, you know what I mean? So
real. He's a jokester, that guy. Oh,
yeah. So for me, that's in that sense. Yeah, it's been really, and not that we haven't had, our fair share of ups and downs, and I miss the community more than anything. I miss just being able to know that I'm just going to see you at some point, because that's the way life and the flow of our lives go. And then, touring stops and most of my friends are out on the road. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of weird that I haven't seen Blake in person in 1 year and 3 months. That's crazy to me,
I had Blake on earlier this week and was talking to him about that relationship. And, I think outside of the distance and outside of not obviously being together in a room, it seems like you guys have, a way of communicating. Like he talked about doing the dishes and something will pop into his head and he'll bounce up into the studio and his partner will yell at him. And, well, I thought you were doing the dishes. He's like, hang on, I gotta get this out. And, he's leaving the dishes half undone. He's getting, he's probably getting yelled at, but he's writing something, or he's got an idea and he just spits it out and he shares that with you. I mean, I think that goes to show not just the bond that you guys have together as friends, but that the creativity flow between you two can continue, even though the proximity and obviously the being in the same room, being in the same studio, being in the same van, that's not obviously not an option right now.
No, but what's cool is that I actually would say to any other band member or artist or any creative out there right now is that the reason why we've gotten to that place where, it's almost like a Survivor episode where we know we have to do our part so that the whole team can get to the raft or whatever. Like that comes from educating ourselves on not only the technology that we're using to create the tools that we have, but also like how to communicate with each other as creatives. I mean, we've done quite a bit of research on our personality types because Blake and I are very different people. I wear everything right out on my sleeve, and and Blake is definitely more reserved in that way. And but it helps us have a balance in our artwork as well, and to push each other, but also to learn to communicate. I think, and that's all learned, I guess, is my point. Is it would be really cool of me to act like yeah, man, that's just how we do things. But Blake and I are very analytical. We have quite a bit of conversations just go on and on about why we're creating the art, what are the motives behind each piece of what we're doing, and And I think that having the freedom to communicate like that is why it's successful. And that, like I said, that was all learned. So it is cool, but it's also hopeful for other people to know that, like, if that's what you're after, there's plenty of amazing information out there these days on how to do that.
How important is it for you? And I think you and I have probably had this conversation after a show, and but to be able to do the things as a creator, as an artist, that you're really passionate about, to be able to, you talked about right now during all this being able to get up and create in many different avenues, and also to be able to watch your kids grow, and not peeling back and being really upset that the option of being out on the road right now is there are some that are trying it, but it's extremely difficult. But you get to wake up every day and have this, and you guys have always been like probably the two of the most positive people I've encountered, but in the greatest way. But you get to get up every day and you get to like say, I get to do something today that I really enjoy doing. I mean, that's got to be, even in all the mess, even all the chaos that the rest of the world is going through and experiencing, but you get to go, this is all right. Like, this is good. I'm in a good spot.
Yeah, it's I think what's so beautiful about it, to be totally real with you, is that when I was going through what I would say a really hard part of my life growing up, I think when I was in high school and middle school, there was no awareness there was any other education except the way the system that had been set up, pre-industrial revolution. And so it was just, I did not feel like I fit in at all. And now looking back, I know I didn't. I was skipping science to be in the art department. I mean, like I should have been in an art school, blah, blah, blah. That being said, in those times of like turmoil, creating and music really was like, it was the deepest kind of therapy for me. It was the way that I really held on. And so music being that anchor for me, or creating, in general, drawing being a huge part of it as well, the visual elements, creating again is that anchor for me. And, for me, and I don't ever enter into the world of social media as far as politics or religion, but I can comment on the fact that this has been one of the most trying years for me, to watch our country go through, not because anybody's right or wrong. I'm not trying to get into that, but just to see the division, because I don't want to see people. I don't like going to a family event and hearing cousins argue with cousins and stuff. It was really disheartening for me, who I feel like I'm as a creator, I'm to enrich the world, and I feel like a lot of taking away. So all that being said, I just, it's cool because music is the anchor during these times. And I think I am blessed to be able to wake up and create. I'm so happy that I have that, I really am.
During all this time, and you talked about having a ton of new music, obviously the Egypt Central return, which is huge. Devour the Day still. I mean, has the focus on, I know you guys have, it's tough to say, like, you guys are like, when the music came out, you guys were super focused on doing the music, the writing process and getting things out. And even though sometimes maybe it was written started on a bar napkin somewhere, and then something else was on another bar napkin somewhere, and then something else was on the back of a coaster. So you had to kind of put all that stuff together after, a run. But has this been, as far as the process of putting music together, has this been the most therapeutic? Because there's the distraction of, okay, we got to get ready to be out, for 6 weeks with Skillet, or we have to be able to, be prepared for this. Has it been like super hyper focused and a better process because that isn't an option right now?
Yeah. I think that right in the beginning, we kind of were facing what was this wave of feeling going through the industry that we felt, at least through our peers or whatever, that was like two options, which was like embrace or complain. And we knew that it wasn't going to be the same. And to speak to the old, let's call it the old way of like getting in a studio and stuff, there is magic that happens at 1 o'clock in the morning, half a bottle through the jack, and you're like liberated, everything's gone, and you're just in that moment of like clubhouse feeling, you and the bros. That's just real stuff. That stuff happens in those moments but pretending that I'm going to get like a fraction of that, or that I want to even try to create a fraction of that. And that's why Blake and I really haven't invested in doing a bunch of live stream or acoustic stuff, because I think it's better in this format, like us chatting, right? And so that being said, I think we looked at it like, this has got to be a new adventure. Like, how do we make this so I'm recording bass and it's cool, it's like actually fun, and a lot of that again was investing in the education and research of understanding what is the latest technology, what are the new ways of doing this. I'm sure everybody was, but we were really impressed by the way Bring Me the Horizon put together the record in real time in front of everybody, and we were inspired by that, not to necessarily copy it, because we're obviously not doing that, but just to take a new look at how we wanted to do things. It wasn't going to do the Bring Me Horizon prescription or anything, but it was just inspired by people going at this challenge with a little bit of grit, a little bit of heart, and realizing that like at some point, even the horse and buggy salesman had to face that cars were here. You know what I mean?
That was a tough gig though. I bet he tried to hold on as long as he could.
Oh man, 19, whatever, or that early time, he just gotta be like, oh man, and I just think that there's a lot of people in the music industry who probably feel, specifically the music industry over the last year and a half, who probably feel like that horse and buggy salesman, and they really just don't know not only how to sell that anymore, but if there really is logically a functionality to the way that things were done, and you have to evolve. And I think that. I look at what you're doing. I look at the graphics, the way you're posting, everything you're doing. I know you understand exactly what I'm talking about.
I think you have to adjust with the climate. If you getting bogged down and stuck, horse and buggy salesman.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. You get to that point where you realize, like, well, there's another way. There's a better way. There's a more, not even necessarily economical way, but in order to achieve some sense of the purpose, and happiness and enjoyment, if you find yourself stuck going, well, I can't do this I can't do. Well, if you took it from a different perspective and say, well, what can I do right now? Like, what's available to me?
Totally.
What is out there? And having the realization that the education of how to do things is it's still, we live in, besides the obvious, we live in pretty great times. If you want to learn how to do something, it's not a 4-year degree. It's not, you can go on and take the time and research and notebooks and learn how things are done, because there's so many avenues to create, especially in the creator world. You can find ways to expand and utilize your brand and utilize your network and talk to people, especially now. You talked about you and Blake having those conversations back and forth and talking to other people in the industry, watching what Bring Me the Horizon did. Go, well, it's being done. There's avenues. There's avenues to do what we want to do. Take advantage of them, because if you're sitting in that room for the last 11 months to flatten the curve, and just miserable because you're like, can't go play a show, can't get on a tour, can't do anything.
Well, and for whatever it's worth, it seems like for me, it kind of cleared some of the fakes out of the way. You're in a place where like buying onto a tour or flying to have somebody else write your next hit song, all those kinds of like prescribed ways of fake it till you make it have kind of been canceled out. And so I love that in this, like, the people that will succeed are the ones that actually have the work ethic to do it, not the people who have maybe the money to. There's always going to be the exception, right? Because if you have enough money, you can get anywhere you want. But will you be respected? Will your art last? Will that, I've seen in 20 years of being in active rock, I've seen some people get really famous really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, no one cares about them right now.
Right.
And they were the biggest band in the world when I toured with them, and literally they don't even exist anymore. And that's happened over and over and over again. And I think that that's because the structure that was kind of set up by the gatekeepers of the record industry, honestly. I mean, I don't have issues talking badly about labels because my experiences are my own. And to be honest, in the end, since we've been releasing our own music, and we own 90% of every song that comes out. And the reason why we do well is because we just keep feeding the people that love our music. I mean, we stopped caring about radio last of Hour of the Day record because honestly, not because of the radio side of it, but because the gatekeepers in between, the people at the work radio, the people at all the different things that have to happen, and there was like so many rules that got set up between 2000 and now of like everything from the acoustic, the 10 a.m. or 6 a.m. acoustic show, like why any artist would ever agree to that, but we had to do that. Like what vocalist sounds good at 6 a.m. in the morning? Like, and
then go play a show that night, play a show that night.
After you drove 12 hours, and the bands that have to do it are the ones that drove themselves, that are going to perform at less capacity. And so I'm just saying the way that the structure was set up was actually harming the genre. It really was. And it was because it was, to me, the old world of 1980s rock and roll power was still just sitting on the head of rock music. And as that goes away, and I know the streaming numbers on rock are awesome. Like bands across the board, from Disturbed to Skillet, you know what I mean? I mean, like that's like the polar opposites, right? I just think like the streaming numbers are great. So it proves that the crowds are out there, like the people are out there. It's just the way it's released. And I think that independent artists, I love Ronnie Radke. I think that like the way that dude is doing things, he's on top of it. He's way ahead. There's a bunch of people that are already understanding. And the reason why he's winning is because he's got such a grip on his stuff too, And so all of that is opening up for the true creatives in the now. And that's awesome to me.
And I imagine the freedom and in a strange year, not being under the thumb, having complete creative control. If Blake has an idea, you have an idea, you guys can hash it out, and you understand that the audience is there. That's, you can create, you can do, you can be passionate about it. And nobody's telling you, I don't know, we need it to be about, if you could make that song 249, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's a really great way of putting it. Yes.
Trust me, 20 years, I watched it even from a small market, and I was like, but we're playing the shit out of this, and this is a horrible song. Right.
Well, and that's the thing about the machine of that too, is that once you are in that machine, there's no other way. You can't, once you're in that machine, the gatekeepers had set it up where you couldn't even diversify your genre once you were accepted. Right. So of course, I mean, this is why all this genreless music is coming out, these incredible collages of sound that are starting to happen, and they're in pop already. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, even in the rock world, you're starting to hear these ebb and flow into other genres because there isn't the restriction of the genre, which I personally think even the idea of giving a creator like a name in society begins the limitation process. Like me having to decide if I was a graphic designer or a band dude made me give up graphic design for like half a decade while I'm building it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any sense just because I was framing myself the way that society needed me to be framed, so that honestly, big corporations and everything can just keep funneling the system the way it is. And so past music, obviously, over the last 10 years, that generation of old white men is getting kicked out of society, which is great.
All right.
And so that change is coming,
And I think it's great. And I will tell you that I've been able to, in now 2 years out of the radio industry, I've discovered more music than I did in 20 years in. I mean, just because there is so much good music out there, so much stuff that you're likely never going to hear on rock radio, even pop radio, even, I mean, hip hop stuff. I mean, I'm able to dive deep and find things and go, wow. And then you fall down that rabbit hole, you find an artist and you're like, damn, like and I'm a mood guy. So if I'm in like,
Totally.
if I'm in a Yellow Wolf mood, and then one of his, guys has a new record out, like I'll go, and they're establishing themselves on social media. They're releasing music on there. They're utilizing SoundCloud. They're getting on Spot. They're doing it exactly how they want to do it. There's no physical album to go pick up. They're like, here's our stuff. Here you go. It's amazing that artists like you and Blake, obviously, have now that control.
Totally.
You are in the driver's seat. It's your music. It's what you want to do. You're happy. You're not miserable. You're not like, oh, sure. Hey, how about you fly to LA and we're going to put you in a room with some writers and you're going to finish and you're going to make a song, but we want it to sound like this song or by like this band. You're going, but wait, what? I don't understand.
Well, even further, like there are bands that I know that when the pandemic hit, they're sitting with a top 10 song, but they're locked to a deal for the next 2 albums, right? And so that's a requirement of 10 songs an album. That's 20 songs. Now for me and Blake, who we have now a mantra that is no song left behind. Like if it isn't good enough to be, it'll never be, it's its own movie. It's its own Netflix release, right? Like each song deserves its own work. And so, but when you start to think of it like that as this constant drip mentality the next 6 to 8 months or 6 to 8 weeks over and over again, that band is stuck for the next 20 singles. That's 3 years of releases for me. You know what I'm saying? That they're locked, and that's all over the place. That I feel for those artists that are locked in these ways. And that I think that's like would be ultimately my warning to anyone is that like, that's what is actually meaning when you get locked into that. And yeah, you're like, well, why can't they just release the music? Yeah, that's fine. But you think that band has seen any of that music, that money, like to feed their kids? Not a cent.
No.
The record labels on average are making 86% of every dollar. And then in the process of making the record, you had to give how many points away to the producer and the dude that wrote the song or wanted to write half the song or wrote maybe 15% of the song, but his lawyer negotiated 33%. Been there too. Like this is like, and for me, it's not, I never wanted to turn into the bitter dude.
Right.
Because they're all over active rock too. Bands that should have been bigger. We all know they should have been bigger. But they weren't because they didn't play the gatekeeper game. No. Too bad, but they can, they can go out and do that now. And I think that it is an exciting world, even though there's so much going on.
I feel you, brother. Well, I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you're so happy. That makes me happy. Your happiness makes me happy.
Well, I'm glad I have the anchor. I'm not going to lie. I haven't been without tragedy through this last year, and that's all I have to say about it. But my heart still goes out to anybody who is afflicted during these times, because I just know it's hard. And I know that mental health is a huge issue for a lot of people. If I didn't have creativity and the ability to do that, I don't know what kind of person I would be, because I'm on a thin line most of the time anyway. So anyway, I have compassion and empathy for those people as well. So I feel very lucky. Is the point.
Joey Walser, Devour the Day, Egypt Central, Third Eye Hat Company, and a million other things that he's doing.
Yeah, dude, hit me up on the text, and I'll send you a code, get you a free hat, so you can start.
It's my thing.
I do like that, though. I do like that. Well, you can switch it out. You can't have too many hats, right?
I really can't. I mean, I have a shelf in my bedroom closet that's probably supposed to be for like hoodies, which now I have in a different closet because hoodies. But
you're a true hat guy.
I'm a hat guy, dude.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Love it. All right. Well, I'll send you a get a couple.
Joey, take care of yourself, brother. Let's get you back on your
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Take care of yourself.
Thanks, dude.
Joey Walser, Devour the Day, Egypt Central, Third Eye Hat Company. Look for that hat. It's gonna be here it's going to be here on the show, and we'll get that link out so you can go check out. They have such an awesome line of stuff. It's super cool. So thanks to Joey. The show continues on. It's his first time doing a live podcast. It's okay. You can swear, Andrew. Have no fear. It's going to be all good, my friend.
Awesome. Good. Thank you for letting me know that I can swear. So thank you.
It comes out sometimes, there's no gatekeepers here.
Awesome. And thank you for bringing me on, man. I'm not going to lie. You got on my radar when you brought in Jesse Westover, owner of the Nutrition Junction. But what you're doing here, it's badass.
No, I appreciate it, man. And thank you for reaching out. I mean, Jesse and I go back, we've worked on some projects together, and great dude, getting after it, doing his thing. And I think anybody that falls in that lineage and following up on your page with the fitness stuff and with the podcast. I mean, I'm glad to have you on and talk about fitness, talk about your podcast, and do all the things, man.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you.
So kind of give me your story. Like, where are you at? You're in Indiana?
Yeah, I'm in Indy right now. I'm originally born and raised from Miami, so that's pretty far away from there. So I've just been traveling, and when we just moved, unfortunately, I didn't have a job lined up and I hadn't started school yet. So I had all this free time. And then I decided I wanted to start a podcast. And then that's when Content Inspire became, and I just started interviewing all of my friends within the supplement industry, and I fell in love with it.
There is something about, I think, having conversations with people, and I've talked about it a lot on this show and on my full length podcast as well. It's the thing that really is missing from, like, in social media, like Twitter, you get 280 characters on you can have a back and forth, but it's never long form. It's usually on one subject. I think what's missing, and I think what podcasting has really brought to the forefront, is you can have conversations with people, learn about their lives, learn about, what gets them motivated, and really talk about anything in a long form conversation, and the words kind of speak for themselves. You've done 30 some, 40 some podcasts already? I think you're up to 30 something or other.
I'm up to 35, drops tomorrow. So
and how great has it been for you just to have, obviously starting with your friends, and I know you're expanding out beyond that. How great has it been for you to really embrace that long form conversation?
The long form conversations in regards to building relationships. At first it was friends, then I started reaching out to individuals within the fitness and sports nutrition that inspired me from like 2 or 3 years ago, before I even got into fitness or creating content, and talking to some of the best in the industry, just actually connecting with them, finding out their why, how they started. And yeah, podcasting for me, you said it, it helps create relationships and helps the listeners like dive deeper into this person's personality or what makes them special.
So you're a workout guy. You're a fitness guru, if you will. Like what brought you into that? I mean, working out is obviously it's a big thing. It's if you look at the country, it's not maybe as big as it needs to be. Maybe it needs to be a little more prevalent. But for you, when did you get really into like fitness, health? This is going to be a part of just who I am as a human being.
In the beginning, I got into it because I just wanted to be bigger. I just wanted to increase my size, just maybe have more confidence in regards to talking to females, you name it, whatever the case may be. Then after a while, it just turned into like a mental aspect for me in regards to going to the gym, and just helped me deal with the bullshit of the day.
Right.
So now everything else just falls into place when I'm consistently working out. Everything else gets a little bit easier for me. And so that's the first time I've ever been called a fitness guru. So that's pretty dope and cool. But yeah, no, in all honesty, I'm just showing my life, my fitness journey, and in every single aspect of it. Like, I'm loving it.
I think it's the one thing, and I know I talked to Jesse a little bit about this when I had him on the podcast, was during all this, during COVID, a lot of narratives were put out there. It was kind of this forcible stay at home, sit on the couch, watch Netflix, eat potato chips. I'm not sure they said that exactly, because
yeah,
unless Lay's was footing the bill there, but there really was this odd push, and I noticed it right away. It was really strange understanding, I'm a workout guy. I run, I flip tires around and throw weights around once in a while. It's just part of who I am. But I was like, it's really strange to me that nobody is really talking about the ways to boost your immune system, the importance of exercise, the importance of eating right, the importance of supplementing right. I mean, I've had a plethora of guests on this show that say the fact that nobody's saying you need to supplement, even if it's not COVID, that whole thing has been seemingly lost on what's being spoken and about how people should be, handling this whole pandemic. It's wild to me.
It's wild, and then it just goes to show that, unfortunately, the individuals that are making the decisions have absolutely no idea what the hell they're doing. They're literally either just playing to their political parties, or they just don't care. Because if it's not, like, I'm being honest, I really don't talk politics that much, but I think everyone in politics is full of shit. Like, at the end of the day, if it's not making them money, they don't care. If you're a small business, you can literally close your doors and die. Like, that's it. So I've noticed it when I've talked to gym owners that I know on a personal basis, that they're like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my $10,000 rent for the facility this month. And I feel for them, because that's their dream. That's their livelihood.
Yeah. And that was always the strangest thing to me, was closing down the gyms. Like it boggled my mind. I've had long conversations with people. I'm like, of all the things you're going to close down, where people are going to try to be healthy and in turn strengthen their immune system, where, unless you go to the gym's usually packed on New Year's Day and then the following week. But, I think there were so many different ways that could have been handled better across the country. Whether it was, hey, we're going to implement some new sanitation procedures, simple things. But shutting them down, not understanding not only the detriment to those who are there to get healthy and to strengthen their immune system, but for people, and you may be one of these guys, I know I am, if you don't get that piece of your day in some fashion, if you don't get that workout in, if you go 2 days, if you go 3 days, if you're locked out for a month, like, that can take a real mental toll on you. It can put you in a place where usually when you have that hour and a half, 2 hours to kind of clear out the cobwebs, to clear out the junk that's in your head, you just you feel great afterwards. That time is taken away. The mental anguish and mental health issues that could arise from that, nobody talked about it. Nobody spoke a word. Blows my mind.
Yeah. On a personal note, I think March of 2020 is when shit hit the fan in Georgia, and that's when I was working full time at a hospital. So I didn't have that stay at home. I was working at a hospital. I did 8 hours my regular shift, then 4, maybe 6 hours of actually screening patients coming into the ER that were saying I have these symptoms or whatever. So every single day I was coming into work thinking, am I going to fucking get it?
Right.
So, and when you're in that kind of environment thinking that you're going to get it, I didn't want to go to the gyms even when they were open, because I didn't want to be that guy that, God forbid, I did have it and was giving it to people.
Right.
So I think around May is when my wife looked at me and was like, you're depressed. You need the gym. Right. You need to finally just say it, just try it, just go and just be safe. And then I did it. So that was, mental health is huge in regards to working out and just staying on top of it.
I know on your podcast, you've talked to a lot of people in the fitness, health and fitness industry. What are some of the ways that the people you've talked to have had to adjust during all this, whether it's because of gym closures, whether it's, their favorite health food restaurant was closed for a while or was only doing pickup? What adjustments have you heard about over the course of the last year that the people you talk to are making in order to try to maintain not only that mental health clarity, but also to keep their fitness regimen, as stringent as they could?
One individual that I can think of off the top of my head, his name is Andy Lee, aka Andy Rue. He's the creative director of Buff Bunny Apparel. And he does photo shoots out in Houston, Texas. He did a photo shoot out in Alaska with his team. So in regards to the work aspect, He had to be careful about which models he would bring in, who was on set for this, that. He is in Houston, Texas, which right now is turning out to be the Disneyland or Disney World of fitness, because that's where everyone is moving towards.
Yeah.
And he says that they're being more strict in regards to. Ooh, I need more coffee. So they're being more strict in regards to the rules regarding wearing masks, gloves, this, that, how many feet you could be away from people. And he's still getting his fitness in, but now it's even affecting his work in regards to the photo shoots and things that he's doing for those brands. So that's just off the top of my head. Other individuals, I would have to say, Claudia Jane Carl. She's a ghost athlete, and she's out in Canada right now. So Canada's completely shut down. Like in regards to gyms, businesses, you name it, people are losing everything out there. And she's still trying to create content. She's still trying to still stay fit and active and on top of her mental health game. So,
yeah, that's one of the great things about those who are really driven. When an obstacle gets in your way, you have to kind of find a way through it. And if it's the gym is closed, okay, well, what can I do at home? I know, and there's sometimes there's a real stringent line between those who can do at home workouts and those who are like, no, I can't do it here. I don't have the room, or it's too chaotic, or I have too much shit in the way. I don't have the weights. But even just, getting out, maybe adapting your routine, hiking, which is, being in the Midwest right now, it's a little chilly.
It is chilly
like
as
19,
hell.
19 below here this morning. I'm like, everybody's moving to Texas. Maybe that's not such a bad idea, but here we are. But I think there's a real, I think the real key is if you need that in your life, and everybody needs it in their life, to find ways to, I don't know. I have an old tractor tire, throw it around in my backyard. I go running, I go walking, I go hiking, and taking the dog out, all those things. I think there's ways to kind of keep your immune system and your mental health at its peak performance, even though maybe some of the things you're used to aren't necessarily as convenient as they used to be.
So I was told if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to get it, right? Or do it. So if you can't, for any reason, in regards to workout at home, which, hey, I'm one of those people. When I was living out in Georgia and Florida, work out outside, go for a walk, do anything and everything in your power to make it happen. Because if you really want it bad enough and it's that important in your life, you won't allow excuses to get in the way.
Do you have people that you follow, that you admire? Like, are you a motivational book reader? Do you have like people on Instagram that you continuously go to for inspiration and motivation? Is there a guy or a gal or a group of people that you're like, yeah, I see them and I'm like, I aspire to do something like that?
There's 3 people off the top of my head. One, his name is Joseph Mansell. He's out in Australia, and he's the owner of TMJ, which those are supplement stores out there. Badass. And he's definitely, in regards to motivational speaking and setting SMART goals, just to go after it, like no bullshit. Like you really want it, go after it. The second person off the top of my head, Christian Guzman, owner of Alpha Elite, ghost athlete, and he's in the process right now of finishing an 18.5 acre gym facility, hotel, everything out in Sugarland, Texas. Nice. So that's where that Disneyland, Disney World is going to be at very soon. He started everything for me in regards to fitness. And then the third person, I would have to say Steve Cook. Steve Cook kind of changed the game in regards to just being in the fitness industry, because he started off as a fitness competitor, a model, then created his own brand, or himself as a brand. Now he's a coach for The Biggest Loser. So he's in that mainstream market that even if you don't know anything about fitness at all, he's there being introduced to so many people that easily could just want to see someone's fitness journey on TV. So it's just inspiring seeing what people are able to do. So it's kind of pushing me to make content inspire and myself something even better.
And you're a Ghost athlete yourself. Tell me about that, getting hooked up with Ghost and their products and how they keep you rolling on the daily.
Boom. So in regards to Ghost, I love it. Like, I remember walking into a GNC one day and I was ready to try something new. I saw them from the label, the market, everything was just different, screamed different from everything in the industry. I tried it. I loved it. It was good, clean energy, no crash, nothing overpowering. And then the flavors that they started coming out with, the flavor collabs with Sour Patch Kids, Warheads, Swedish Fish, Welch's. Then the proteins, the protein Chips Ahoy, Nutter Butter collabs, like, really just changed the game for me, like, in regards to what supplements could taste like and what they could do. So I'll use a product that's called Gamer, that's marketed towards people that play video games, but you can use it for studying. You can use it to increase your focus in the gym, because, hey, there's certain times where I am so tired, no matter how many scoops of pre-workout I can take. No, if I can take one scoop of Gamer and I'm mentally locked in, ready for the workout, that's it. I'm going to crush it. So that's a product that I swear by and is one of my favorites. So, and I literally hooked up with Ghost because I saw they didn't have anyone in Atlanta, right? I just sent an email. To everyone at headquarters and was like, hey, if you guys ever want to do something, let me know and I'll go help out. If not, I'm still going to do something and set up with fans of the brand out here. And then in 24 hours, they basically reached out and was like, just join the fam.
That's awesome, dude. I'd have to try that Gamer stuff. That sounds like something I need, because I'm like, sometimes I get a little bouncy, a little distracted. I'm gonna need some of that. I have to send that email myself. Be like, I just need some Gamer, so I can get myself
Gamer. DM me your address, your info, and I got you.
Oh, look at that, making things happen. So I'm gonna talk more about the podcast, because I want people to go and check it out. I think you just had on. She was from Wisconsin, IBF Pro.
Boom, IBF. IFBB Jessica Cedar.
Yes.
Yeah, that episode drops tomorrow.
I was going to say.
Yeah, that episode drops tomorrow. And I'm a huge fan of the store that sponsored her. The nutrition store, TNS. And I know the owner, Jacob. He's a great guy. And I met Jessica at the Christmas banger that happened in December out in South Carolina. Great person, funny, badass, and just real, right? Because if someone's real in the fitness industry, you can tell immediately. Because if someone's just faking a certain personality on social media, you can tell immediately that it's not real, it's not authentic, and they just want views, they just want likes, or whatever the case may be. So I interviewed her. It was great because she talks about mental health, how important it is for her as well. And yeah, I can't wait to release that.
So content inspire, people want to go and find the podcast. Is it is available on all the podcast platforms, I'm assuming?
Yes, it is available on Apple, Spotify, all podcasting platforms. I use Anchor in regards to that aspect. I might have to use StreamYard because I'm not going to lie, this is a really sick format that you got here. But yeah, Anchor, just record, interview people, and then upload directly, and it gets sent everywhere.
No, it's super cool, dude. Yeah, and using StreamYard, this is something that, again, when you talked about, being in a pandemic and things being closed down, and this was one of those things that I wanted to go and learn how to do something different. I had a podcast, I have just the audio. I know I do my long form stuff, which can be an hour, it can be 2 hours. I have one that went 3, but I wanted to make it as it's difficult to get people obviously in a studio. This is a little easier. There was some Zoom time. Sometimes I was using Zoom and it wasn't working the way I wanted it to. But then when I found StreamYard, I have my audio recording underneath this, so that, I can just splice it up and upload it to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I think, brings in an element of when we're done, and when the show's done today, this lives, the video, I can clip just our stuff, and we can have, Andrew's minutes, and we can have, Joey's minutes. Everybody can have their own section. It's really, I think, expanded what you can do with a podcast, because you have the audio. And if people want to dive deeper, especially on Twitch, when you can really clip it down into, short little 30-second things or 5 minutes, you have another layer. It adds another element of, it's not just the audio and it's not just the video, because it could be, here's a video, here's a highlight, here's a clip. It's on YouTube, it's on, Twitch, it lives on Facebook. So, and even if you were just to use it for an interactive thing, like you wanted to have your guest on, you could see them and record underneath it. This is much easier to do. It's almost like we're face to face hanging out in the cold ass weather.
Yeah, exactly. Because everything that I do is just 100% audio based. So even though I'm really good at having conversations and just building that normal conversation, all that good fun stuff, the aspect of seeing your guest is just next level. Yeah. Plus, you just said it in regards to video content, specifically for each guest. Then that just adds another layer of how you're able to make that content stretch even further. Quick question for you, my dude. How has it been in regards to your podcast being sponsored by Monster Energy?
Monster and I, and this show specifically isn't sponsored by Monster. I haven't changed my backdrop yet. It's just still there.
Okay.
But, so Monster and I, we go way back. When I was doing radio for 20 years, we did a lot of promotional stuff with them. And after I got out of radio, and I was talking to my guy Chris, who lives over in Michigan, and kind of I think runs this area. So in talking to Monster about doing the podcast, and they were like, yeah, we'll jump on board. We'll send you some stuff, and they've kind of just been my swag partner. But with this new adventure, as this show grows, I mean, this is the 4th live show that we've done. I'm doing Monday through Friday. They have the paperwork. if they're interested in keeping the banner up while the live show goes on, they have the paperwork. But it's been a good relationship. I'm a fan of their hydro stuff. Their hydro drink, which is 0 calorie, but it still has some caffeine, branched chain amino acids and stuff in it. So that's usually my go-to, because even up here, and this, people forget you can get dehydrated during the winter, actually probably faster than you can during the summer. And people are like, I'm really not that thirsty because it's 13 below. And like, no, you should drink some water, dude. So.
Definitely drink some water, because that's what I'm experiencing out here. But that's cool that you have that relationship with Monster. That's badass.
Yeah, I mean, unless Ghost wants to come to the table, my phone, just give me a call, we'll chat, we'll get the big Ghost symbol behind me. It'll be great.
Well, there is Ghost Energy in regards.
It comes in a can too. I saw that. That's badass.
Yeah. And I know that we just released the SBK Blue Raspberry flavor. There's the Sour Patch Kids Red Berry. There's the Warheads Sour Watermelon flavor, citrus, and tropical mango. And then more than likely later on in the year, there'll be other flavors that are released. But I know Ghost is making a huge push in the energy drink market. So,
well, let me just take a note here. Gamer and energy drink. Guys, going to take that note down. I'm going to move my head over a little bit. We'll just hide that. No. Andrew, let people know on social media where they can find you. I know I see you got your Adaran signs down here for your page, and then Content Inspire is the name of the podcast. So.
Yeah, my Instagram, my personal one is Andrew Calvino Fitness. And then the IG page for Content Inspire @Content Inspire. And then I'm releasing episodes every Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Available everywhere. And thank you so much.
No, Andrew, let's get you back on here. I'll shoot you a message, and I'd love to talk more about fitness stuff and tips and things like that. We'll get you back on, and we'll roll with this, man. I appreciate you taking some time out, and get yourself another cup of coffee or grab one of those Ghost energy drinks, and enjoy the rest of your day, my friend. I know it's been a long one.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Hey, take care of yourself. Andrew Calvino, and Content Inspire the podcast. New episode dropping tomorrow on all podcast platforms. And she's his guest is from the great state of Wisconsin. I know she said that in one of her live videos. So it all ties together. Very cool stuff. Thank you all for tuning in on whichever platform you're watching. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, or if you're on Twitch, thank you for being a part of the program today. We're going to take a short break. We still have Joshua Toomey from the Talk Toomey podcast. He's coming up. He talks to rock stars as well. So we'll get all his insight and chat the rest of the day. And also share the video wherever you're watching. Hit the share button. Let your friends know. We'll be right back in about 5 minutes. We're back, Cooperville Live, going down on your Thursday, running until 6 o'clock this evening. Thank you to everybody who's got us tuned in here on Facebook, on Twitch, and on YouTube. Great show so far. Thanks to Todd Whitener from Blitzkrieg and Joey Chicago from Devour the Day, and Andrew Calvino, athlete, guru, ghost athlete, and host of the Content Inspired podcast, for being on. And excited to welcome on Joshua Toomey from the Talk Toomey podcast. He's all professional. He's got headphones. He's probably got a microphone. He's ready to roll.
I do have a microphone. What's up, guys? Or what's up, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Just hanging out here in the palatial Talk Toomey studios, right?
I love it. I have the Cooperville lounge here, which is really messy. And I noticed that when I started doing live stuff,
right?
I had other seats in the studio. That just ended up being where all the shit went. Like, there's kids' backpacks over there, and I think there's a Christmas stocking. I'm not even sure where that came from, but the in-camera view, that's all that matters.
Nice. Yeah, I was joking earlier. I was like, behind me is all the cool stuff. If you look over there, there's the washing machine. So
we do what we got to do, right?
Right. Exactly. You know, I'm like under the stairs right now. So this is my nook of the house.
Yeah, I have there's a closet over here. This actually was like the third bedroom, but I'm like, nope, it's going to be my office. But there's bathrooms over there, so the toilet flushes. I'm like, I hope nobody heard that in this. But so cool. I'm glad to get to talk to you. I've been following you for a long time. I know you've been doing the podcast thing for quite a while, and have had a chance to encounter many artists, many rock stars in the rock genre and the metal genre. Like, did you do radio before this, or has it always been a podcast thing?
It's always been podcast. It was I did I was in bands for years, and then I kind of stepped out of the music world for a good 5-7 years, and then I got a job that I could listen to podcasts all the time. And at that time, I was like, you know what? The more and more I listen to podcasts, I was like, I could do this. I know a lot. I know enough people in the music to get some cool guests and stuff. So yeah, I started my own.
How long is
everyone's story?
Yeah. How long have you been doing the Talk To Me podcast?
Talk To Me will be 6 years in September. So that's
in before like podcasts were like, they're the hip thing now. Everybody's doing doing podcasts now. Like, I'm like, and some people that shouldn't. I'm like, why is she doing it? I don't understand. Like, what's happening here? But
my favorite thing in the entire world is, when you're having a guest on, you'll go and you'll listen to some other interviews. And then you listen to him, you're like, how did this person ever get an interview? And I'm not saying I'm a great interviewer, but there are just some really bad ones out there.
Oh, and like, hang on, let me get my script is out here. What is what was your favorite album after? Yeah, there's
right.
But I think people are looking for, because the avenue is there, because you can, it's not, you can really do a podcast. You don't need to have you probably got fancy stuff, and I got stuff that's like, I have a 8-channel mixer. I use like 2 channels on. Like, it's really overkill. But you don't need all this stuff to start a podcast, and you don't really need much as far. There's great platforms you can really easily start one, but just because it's available, it's like social media. Just because you have an opinion doesn't necessarily mean you should put it out there on social media. But there's also some great ones out there.
The one thing with that was I was actually thinking about that, because I was like, I bet he's gonna ask how you got into podcasting, and I was thinking about that again today. Was going back, it was like I bought like a $25 USB mic off of Amazon, and downloaded Audacity, and I just used the family desktop to record. And then I used an app on my phone for the interviews. So it was really like, I think I got started for maybe $50,
Yeah.
but then now it's like, anytime I turn around and like right now I'm like, what kind of mic is he using? I should get that mic, I'm like always, I'm like, whatever anybody's using, I'm like, I really like the way this sounds. I'm going to check out what they've got, or something like that. So I've spent way too much money on this stuff.
Yeah, I was the same though. I mean, it's a Rode Procaster microphone, I believe, unidirectional. But that's only because I was really watching YouTube videos, and Rode had a series where they built people's studios.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that must be the best. Maybe they'll build mine. They didn't. They never called back. But that was my thing. Is I was in radio for 20 years, and so when I got out, I was so used to using like Adobe Audition, that audio recording software, and I'm like, well, I need to have a mixer. I have 2 other mics set up in here, but it really doesn't take a whole lot to put something out, and you can really tell when there's some that are doing it. Obviously there's next level stuff that is wild. I think the video aspect of it has really been a new addition. I know you've added that into yours, and that's been kind of cool to see. Kind of take adding another layer into podcasting has really been cool to watch. Yeah,
this whole StreamYard. I mean, I've been using StreamYard for probably, I don't know, 6-8 months, and it just makes the interview so much more. You got the rolling scroll at the bottom, and you got this, all the bells and whistles now. And, in the last 5 years, I would have never thought I was going to be doing video. I always thought I was just going to be doing audio. And then after, we made the move, we bought this house, and, we're like, all right, well, let's set up this little nook in here, and then we'll get a camera. And I didn't like that camera, so I got another camera. And, it's growing and growing, but the tools that are available now are so it's so easy to get into this, with StreamYard. You don't really need a whole lot. Honestly, I've seen some streams online where it's obvious that it's the guy's laptop opened up and the laptop computer, and he's using the laptop mic. And, that kind of always goes back down to good content is good content. So if the content is good, you'll look past the audio and the video. There's great, great podcasts out there that sound great, but they might not have much content to them. But there's some people out there doing it that might not sound 100% or studio perfect, that you'll just like, what, this show sounds like crap, but I'm going to still listen to it. Yeah, I think there's a ton of that. And because now there's a lot of push for people in business to do podcasts, and there's this kind of, it can really enhance your business if you do a podcast, you talk to your clients and stuff. And usually, not want to say all business owners, but if you're like, I don't know, selling washers and dryers, like you're probably pretty good. You're probably better at selling washers and dryers than I am. But to then put a podcast together with your phone, talking to, Shirley, who's not sure she wants the top load or the front load, you just publish that content, and it clutters up the field a little bit. But I think what you're doing, and what's been really cool as I followed you over, it's probably been several years that I've followed your content and stuff. Right. But you're a fan, but you're knowledgeable, and your conversations are always, I don't want to say they're unscripted, but you know what you're talking about. You have, you understand the artists, the music, the influences that they had. How many interviews have you done over 6 years? That's yeah. That's at least one a week. There were some times where I was doing 2 a week. I've actually got the sidecast now, the Drag the Waters, the Pantera podcast, where I'm doing all Pantera content. So it's probably 500 maybe. It's pretty nuts to look back. It honestly, you get so focused in the next episode that you don't really think about what you've done until you scroll through and you start looking at the names of people that you've interviewed. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I talked to that guy. It's pretty nuts looking at the back catalog of the Talk to Me podcast. It seems like you've been able to take it and expand it beyond, because you've been to some festivals and stuff, haven't you? With the podcast. There's a big festival here called Louder Than Life. I'm right outside Louisville right now. And they basically you put in for the media pass. And, the first year I was like, I think I'd been a podcast for maybe 6-8 months when the registration came out. So I was like, I'll fill this out, but there's no way I'm getting approved. And they approved me. And I was like, wow, okay. So, you go and you get to interview, bands like Hell Yeah and all those guys. I mean, at that time, I did put in for everybody and got nobody because nobody knew who I was.
Right.
But over the years, this is all relationship based. The beginning of the podcast was all relationship based. It was, my first 10 episodes were guys I either played in bands with that went on to bigger bands or bands that I had toured with and things like that. So, you get a Billy Gray of Fozzy or Chris Cale of Five Finger Death Punch. He was one of my first guests because, I knew him since I was, 19. His old band and my old band used to trade shows. That's how we've known each other and stuff. So you get, you get those on the resume, and then you email out and say, hey, publicist X, I've had Chris Cale of Five Finger Death Punch on my show. And they're like, oh, well, he must be knowing what he's doing. So here's, Phil Anselmo of Pantera.
Right.
Like it's just all, but those same people that I talked to 5 years ago, I still get emails from daily, like, hey, you want to talk to this person? You want to talk to that person? And I'm like, hey, don't you represent this person? Can I get an interview with that person? And it's been pretty, not say streamlined, but it's been pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Just, good for both sides. They get some interviews, I get the interviews, and we can, both make some good content.
And you've had a lot of your content, a lot of your questions and answers and stuff. Have been picked up by, some of the rock rags that are out there. I don't call them rock. They're not rags anymore. I guess maybe that's dating myself. Hell, they printed it in a magazine. That was what they did in the old days. But Loudwire, Blabbermouth, places like that. So that's got to be, that has to lend itself, I think, to, the credibility of what you've done and obviously longevity, relationships that you've built, not just with the artist, but with, their management, because that's obviously the stream you have to go up. But that's got to be cool to have some of your, to have your content, the questions that you ask and the answers that they give, published for the world to see.
Yeah, it's been pretty nuts, man. Obviously, I always talk about my favorite band being Pantera, and almost half of the articles, at least on Blabbermouth, if it says something about Pantera, say they're the current story, and then in the bottom, it always kind of goes back to a few months ago on the Talk To Me podcast, blah, blah, blah. So there have been so many times that my podcast and Pantera have been attached on some of these things. It's pretty nuts to watch it happen and to just even be associated with them even peripherally is pretty nuts. But yeah, the one of the biggest ones is maybe not a name that a lot of people heard of, but the singer of Betraying the Martyrs came on the podcast, and his band had been in a very bad van fire. Their entire trailer had caught on fire. No injuries, nobody hurt, but they lost all the gear. But they were managed by Chris Adler of Lamb of God. And in that interview, he told me, he's like, I haven't told anybody this, but the drum kit that they used on that tour was Chris Adler's from Lamb of God's, the one that he used on Megadeth's Dystopia record. But he's like, hey, since I'm managing you guys, you can borrow this kit for the tour, just kind of bring it back nicely. Right. And we recorded that interview at 9 a.m. and I had to put it out immediately. And within by 2 p.m., yahoonews.com and just these major websites were pulling about, the van fire causing the, Megadeth drum kit destroyed in fire, and it's crazy that going into that interview, you would have never have thought that, I knew the van fire was cool, not cool, but it was a good jumping off point. It had just happened, let's talk about this and what really happened and all that stuff. But yeah, to get them, to be basically on the cover of yahoo.com by 5 o'clock it's just crazy how fast this media stuff works.
Yeah, I think it's totally wild. And that's, one of those memorable moments, obviously, because not just because of how fast it spread, because of the story itself. Is there a handful of moments that stick out to you? I think in any conversation, there's things you pick out, that was really cool. And having done it for as long as you have, I'm sure you maybe have to scroll back a little bit, oh yeah, that's right. When I talked to, Dave Ellefson, that was a really cool, interview. But is there a handful that you're that was really cool, to be a part of that conversation or that, have that, that interaction with that artist that really stick in your mind?
Yeah. It's been pretty crazy just over the years, one of my first I think he was like episode 42 was Jim Brewer, you know, like, and
Nice.
I went and saw him live, and I just happened to go through the merch line and say, hey, you know, I've got a podcast. Would you like to come on? He said, yeah, gave me his publicist's email address, and bam, and there it was. Like, and we, you know, we set it up. That actually went viral because that was, he was talking about Brian Johnson getting kicked out of AC/DC, and he said it was like getting fired from Walmart was like the headline, and it was a pretty funny headline to me. But you know, like that's cool. Just so now when I see those guys in movies and things like that, you're like, I had a conversation with that guy, and some of the guys I have on the show that really freak me out the most are like the ones that you probably wouldn't think, like Jeff Walker of Carcass. You know, he was as a kid, you know, 13, 14, watching him on Headbangers Ball. And then you're turning around and getting hey, you want to interview Jeff Walker of Carcass? And you're just like, wow, you know, like that one made me nervous. The first Dave Ellefson one made me nervous, but it's funny now that Dave Ellefson's kind of in like the clique. Like he's almost like I've interviewed him so much now. I'm like, hey, Dave, it's been 6 months, you know, what's new? And with him, everything's new. He's got a movie and a coffee and a book and a, you know, new record and a solo record and a cover record. You know, he's always working. So he's always got something to promote. So yeah, man, it's just been, you know, I'm sure with you, you know, there's tons of people that you've had on your show that you walk away going, wow, I can't believe I just talked to that guy.
I know I love those moments because I do still get, I want to say butterflies necessarily, but you know, nobody wants to come off like a moron. And you want to, you know, do your research and kind of do some backlogging and have some anecdotal things that you want to throw in there. But I think, and you've more than likely realized this too, is when you get a chance to actually have a long form conversation with an artist, like not the awe or the you know, the story behind them goes away, but you're like, that's right, I forget that these are actually human beings and they put their pants on the same way. Maybe they're a little more leathery than I can put on sometimes, but no, I think that's the really cool thing is you really get this. And I always compare it because in radio you get like 10 minutes. You get 10 minutes, and usually the end game is like new song, new album, new tour, or something major. So there's always, you know, the last 3 minutes of that 10 is always focused on this specific thing. What I've realized in this is, you know, when you really get them to open up and they start talking about family and, you know, as much as they love the road, you know, they love coming home. Those I think are the real intriguing stories to me, because you really make you realize that, okay, like what you see on the stage and when there's pyro or when there's, you know, big productions and when you're just wilding out watching a show, and these guys are, I mean, in a rock god sense of the word, you're like, wow, this is like, that dude's like above, you know, he's on some other level. And then you get him sitting in a chair, you know, talking on his MacBook, and you're like, man, you're super chill. Like it's
right.
It's a totally different playing field. I'm sure you've realized that too over the years, talking to as many people as you have.
Yeah. And the one thing that even as a kid, when I was like 12, 13, 14, first getting into metal, I immediately went to, when we would go to shows, we would find the bus and we would hang around the bus all day, and then wait till they came off the bus and talk to them and get the autograph. And so I've been talking to rock stars since I was a kid. And then, you know, in my early 20s, started touring a lot. And so I got to kind of see the road from that side. So you know, touring with some of my favorite bands, you know, I was a huge Skin Lab fan, and they actually came out opening for us one tour, you know, holy crap, Skin Lab's opening for us. And so, I mean, that was a cool experience. And then when I was right out of high school, I was in a band that Fred Corey from Cinderella enjoyed. And so he wanted to produce some of our albums. So we went and did demos with him. And so I'd be doing bass tracks and stop and be like, tell me about the Moscow Music Peace Festival. You know, I was interviewing him at like 18, 19 in the studio during bass tracks, or tell me about touring with Bon Jovi and, you know, all that stuff. So, I mean, there was always like that, like I always had questions for them. You know, tell me about this, tell me about that. So, I mean, a lot of the shows that I have now are, if you don't recognize the name on the, you know, the episode title, it's probably because it's one of my favorite bands from when I was a kid. You know? And I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I get to interview this guy. And everybody's like, who is this guy? And I'm like, hey, I liked him as a kid.
Don't you worry about it. This is my show. It's not your show.
I'm not worried about downloads on this one. This one's for me.
Now, is there and you've had a chance again, the list of artists that you've had a chance to talk to is extensive. Is there somebody that you were your most prized guest, the person that you got to interview that you're like, if I die today, this is the one, this is the moment. I mean, I really wanted to have this conversation. Is there one that sticks out there like that was the one?
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but it was probably Phil Anselmo. Had him on a couple of times. And the first time, you call into the thing and he answers the phone and he goes, "Talk to me, baby." Like he made a joke right out the gate. We got along pretty well. And then he came on again. I felt like he remembered me from the last time, in that whole thing. And so, I mean, Anselmo is probably a huge one just because of how big of a fan I was as a kid. Ellefson, the many times he's been on the show. Even people like, Head from Korn was on the show. That was a huge band for me as a kid. That's another, I need to scroll through the thing. Rob Flynn was great when he was on from Machine Head. Yeah. Just a lot of those guys that, when you don't have to even like think twice about it when they say, or like D. Snyder came on the show. Fantastic interview. I mean, obviously he's going to be great because he was in radio for years and he's a great talker. But and the one thing I never ever do with them is try to get to, hey, will you do this for my friend, or will you do this for
right,
this, that, and the other thing. But my son, who is now 6, when he was on the way to daycare every day, he would say, "Dad, play We're Not Gonna Take It." At like 4, he was asking for, and then We're Not Gonna Take It goes right into I Want to Rock, and he sings along with it. And so I was like, D, would you mind? And he recorded a little 45-second snippet for my son. It's like, hey, your dad is awesome for letting you listen to this great music, blah, blah, blah. And like, man, it was awesome because he not only did it, he kind of changed his tune a little bit too. And he kind of went into dad mode, talked a little bit slower to make sure that my son could understand him. And, that was just the cool thing for me and, my son. And it was just cool that he did that.
Yeah. He didn't yell at him at all.
No.
we played House of Hair on one of the stations I was on over the course of my career. And so D, cuts liners for the stations, so you can run promos during the day and then, through the show. It was so amazing because you get the dry audio. You get him, in his studio and reading for Wisconsin. And so he talks like probably how he talked to your son, very like
even keel. Yeah.
And then he goes into like the liners, just, "What's going on, Eau Claire? How's the hair?" All right, now what's the next one? Okay, now we got to read. Okay. So it's just
right.
His the ebbs and flows of his radio voice, and then his I gotta just okay. Now, how do you say that? Chippewa Falls. Okay, cool, I got it. And he's got such great stories too, because he's from being in Congress, with the whole parental advisory thing, and just the Twisted Sister and the backlash, and that was. He's a great interview, but it's really cool, I think, to hear those stories when they get into story mode. Cause I mean, the things that these guys have seen and the places that they've been and the crowds that they've been in front of and the fans that they've met. I mean, it's really, when you can get them in that place where they're naturally telling a story. I mean, I found myself just like sitting back.
I should jump in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Tell me more. Tell me more about, the trip to East Germany or East Berlin and playing shows over there. It's really great. It's such great storytellers that, it's tough to decipher that when you get them in there in a song where they have, 5-6 minutes to do their thing, but you get them to tell stories, man. Those are the moments.
Oh yeah. Especially, I mean, like the limited touring I did, I could look at a tour itinerary and remember crazy things that happened almost daily,
right?
That could probably be great audio, so I know that some of these guys you get on that have been on tour for the last 30 years and they're like, and they only have, there's like those legendary stories, but like the day before and the day after that legendary story was probably also legendary. They just haven't talked about that one yet.
That was the day after the legendary happened. And they always got, and if you look through that itinerary and you find like they remember like certain places, like, oh yeah, there was this little, restaurant that we went to outside of, Bemidji, and we had this really great dinner, and the waitress, and I love when they get real about their tour life, because from personal experience, and from talking to these guys, that life on the road that they've unfortunately had a break from in 2020 into 2021. I mean, it's as glamorous as it looks. That can be rough. It's not all Motley Crue videos from the late 80s.
Yeah, it's funny. Anytime I talk about touring, like, oh man, you've been to Detroit. I'm like, yeah, I've been to Detroit, but I only walked around Harpo's one time and went back in the venue, and then we left. It's not like I went and saw any landmarks of Detroit that's left, and oh, you've been to St. Louis. Did you did you go to the Anheuser-Busch Stadium or something? I'm like, no, I walked around the venue. I can tell you about a 1 block radius of the venue, and that's about it.
Yeah, and that's usually all they get.
Yeah,
outside. I mean, we have a couple of festivals in our area, Rockfest in particular, which is kind of cool because they get a chance. They're really out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's cornfields, and then 25,000 people all camping and stuff. But the artists I've talked to there about it, like, this is great. I walk outside, it smells like Wisconsin. I'm like, well, that's not always a good thing. It's right. Kind of like cows and stuff, but they're out. And who was it? And Clint Lowry from Seven Dust. I took my son, who's 10 now, to Rockfest for the first time, and he got a chance to meet like Lizzie Hale, and that was like she retweeted him, and it's like his story he tells his friends now, like, Lizzie Hale retweeted a picture of me and her. I'm like, they'll never know, dude. They'll never know how great the moment that was. But I went to pick him up, and so I left the grounds, and here's just running down a 2-lane road in the middle of nowhere. It's Clint Lowry going, just like probably putting on 10 miles, just out running.
Nice.
But he really didn't get to experience much because he's like, oh, cows, farmhouse, tractor. At least he didn't hear any banjos playing. He's like, oh shit, they're filming Deliverance 3 out here in Wisconsin. That's scary.
Nice.
Hey, Joshua, thank you so much, man, for the time. It's great to finally get you on and have a conversation with you about stuff. Do you have more podcasts coming out? Do you got some things lined up? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, actually today I did an interview with a guy from Wolfheart, who is a Finnish death metal band. Pretty insane story, just because like we go into like the history of Finland, and it's it's one of those you get off and you're like, I wasn't expecting that, but it was fun. Jeremy Spencer, formerly of Five Finger Death Punch, did another interview with him today for his upcoming stuff with Psychosexual. That'll be out next month. You can find everything that I do over at the CMS Podcast Network, cmspn.com, and both my shows are there. Tell you how to subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man, for the time. Really appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing, man, and I'll keep following. It's been great to catch up and hear your stories, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, anytime.
Awesome. Take care of yourself.
You too. Joshua
Toomey in the Talk Toomey podcast. Again, go listen to some of those episodes, man. It's great conversations with a lot of artists, and having a chance to really dig below the surface, talking about Finland. I mean, how kick-ass is that? It is the Cooperville Live show just after 5 o'clock here. We're going to take a short break, come back. Lots to talk about, including the God, can I say tragedy? Because it's fucking tragic. Gina Carano fired from The Mandalorian. Strange that on Tuesday's show, is it Tuesday's show or Monday's show? I was just having a conversation about this, live on this show with Kyle Yudes of Recipes for Freedom, talking about how great it was that even though the Twitterverse and Insta and keyboard warriors were trying to get Gina fired from The Mandalorian, it wasn't working, and Jon Favreau, maybe he stood up for her, and then a day later, she's canned. Cancel culture. It's bullshit. I tweeted that today, and I still have a Twitter, so I don't know what that says. But we'll take a break. We'll talk more about that and more of the comments from the Tom Brady was drunk at a Super Bowl party in his own honor, and why that's okay. It's okay for him to do that. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Stand by for more in just a few. Welcome back to the live show, Cooperville Live. Big thanks out again to Joshua Toomey from the Talk Toomey podcast, our last guest on the program. Thank him so much for being a part of it. Find that show, find him on the social medias, and give him a follow. Dude's doing awesome stuff. Also, Andrew Calvino from the Content Inspire podcast. Thanks to him for being on. Also, Ghost Athlete. Joey Chicago Walser, my brother from another mother, Devour the Day in Egypt Central and Third Eye Hat Company. Go check out Third Eye Hat Co. I know they're on Facebook and Instagram. Follow their stuff, man. It's some badass gear. And Todd Whitener from Bliss Craig, formerly of Tantric and Days of the New, all for being on the show today. It's been full, been a good one. But lots to get to. It was yeah, I think we're still live. My computer just went blank screen. Don't do that no more. If we are still live, hit us up in the comments. Let us know this is still working. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk to myself for the next so many minutes. But as I was saying, I was chatting with Kyle Yudes of there we go. You live. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, brother from another mother. Thank you for tuning in. Kyle Yudes of Recipes of Freedom was on the show a couple of days ago, and I was just having the conversation with him about Gina Carano from The Mandalorian, how she had gone under fire months ago from some tweets that she had put out in line with her political views. And so there was this big, obviously in cancel culture, everybody's like, hashtag cancel Cara Dune, which is her character on Mandalorian, cancel Gina Carano. But they fought against that. And there was actually rumors going around and pretty detailed rumors. So that makes you think they were actually at a point where they were talking in depth about giving her character, Cara Dune, her own series, like a spin-off of The Mandalorian, probably her backstory and how she came to be where she was. And then, maybe some of her own adventures when she's not roaming around with Mando. This is the way. But all that was scrapped. Talking to Kyle, I'm like, it's great. She First Amendment, freedom of speech. She said what she wanted to say. And then actually during this show last night, when I was we're finishing up yesterday, jumped on, checking the news feeds, and the first fucking story I see is that Gina Carano no longer of employ of Lucasfilm or Disney, and there's no plans for her in the future. Cancel culture. Now, there was a giant, I call it the echo chamber. There's a lot of people who just like to spew things out into the Twitterverse and into Facebook comments, and they're all talking the same thing. They're all spewing the same thing. They all feel like everybody must feel this way because everybody that's in this echo chamber is all saying the same thing. And they were all like, good, glad she got canceled. She wasn't a good actress anyway. I'm fine with that. They'll write her out of the story, even though she was a pretty integral part of the first two seasons. And then, thankfully, because life needs to have balance. Balance needs to have balance. Then more people started to come to her defense because many things have been said by people with different political views that should have gotten them canceled, yet they were not. Even Pedro Pascal, who is the Mandalorian, that's his character, had made some not exact but similar statements and posts on his social media to what Gina Carano had put out there. But he is on a different political side. So he's fine. She's fired. And I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing for Gina, who I would love to have on the show sometime. Gina, if you're watching, which I'm sure she is, probably on the Twitch, jump on. Love to have you on. Love to talk about you. Huge fan. Loved you in Deadpool, as well as The Mandalorian and other stuff. So coming to her aid, and again, I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but Ted Cruz went to bat for Gina via social media on Thursday, slamming the mega corporation that is Disney for canceling the actress. His tweet goes as follows, and she's a Texan, which is awesome. Gina Carano broke barriers in the Star Wars universe, not a princess, not a victim, not some emotionally tortured Jedi. Cruz wrote, she played a woman who kicked ass and who girls look up to, and she was instrumental in making Star Wars fun again. And of course, he ends his tweet with, of course, Disney canceled her. It's not wrong. I mean, there was, as a Star Wars fan, and I'll even put up with the first three. I'm cool with it. Like, I get it. It's detached from the original three. It's actually 6, 7, 8. No, 3, 4, 5. 4, 5, 6. That's it. 4, 5, 6. Numbers are hard, man. Like, I embraced it. I embraced the story of Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader and the whole thing, and Jar Jar Binks and the whole thing. I'm like, that's cool. It's a story. Like, I like it. I dig it. And then the original, obviously the originals are still the best. And even the final three, even with Rey, loved them. Thought it was great. Thought it was a great ending. That's not the popular opinion for some in the Star Wars fan verse. They don't, no, it should have went like this. And then there was a whole outcry about maybe this is a sexist thing because the main character was a female Jedi. And I thought it was great. And then, like, this is the end of the Skywalker storyline in Star Wars. Star Wars will continue. And I was like, no, I don't know. Invest any time into some other story. You know, I watched Rogue One. I thought Solo was great. Obviously, there's a Skywalker tie in there, but I thought Solo was great. Rebels, great. I'm like, I don't know. You know, I don't know if I can invest any more of my life into engaging in anything Star Wars. But The Mandalorian came out. I'm like, give it a shot. The reviews came out. I didn't watch it when it dropped. The reviews came out. It was like, this is amazing. This is awesome. And I watched it. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is fantastic. It embodied everything. And Jon Favreau is a fucking genius. I mean, give that guy all the awards. If awards, give him all the awards. You know, invested $6.99 a month into having Disney Plus just to watch The Mandalorian every Friday. Forgot to cancel my subscription, and so it went over the year, and then season 2, which was also fantastic. You know, the episodes were a little bit shorter. You know, they're like 39, 45 minutes. I'm like, what is this? But still great. The ending, mind blown, dude. Baby Yoda. There's no Baby Yoda without The Mandalorian. Gina Carano, Cara Dune, huge part of the storyline. Huge part. Saved Mando. Brothers and sisters, saved The Mandalorian. But make some tweets, post some things on Instagram. The outcry, the hashtags, the hate, canceled. Fire her. I don't like what she said. You fire her. You take away her livelihood. Fire her. Again, here's my keyboard warrior. I'm just going to angry type. Hashtag. Jeez, people, come on. This is the world we live in. Of all the things, and this has been, I mentioned the Pedro Pascal thing, which has been brought up on several platforms. And the similarities are eerie. Obviously, he is still of employ. He's the main character. Again, he wears a mask most of the time, so you probably could do it with that. It'd be easier to replace him than it would be to replace Cara Dune. But alas, here we are. Different ends of the political spectrum. She's canceled. He's still Mando. And there's other things that are being brought up. There's a lot of things that Disney has done that are being called into question. Disney is now under attack. This has set off a firestorm of people going, wait, group of hypocrites. How is it that you say film Mulan in a place that has concentration camps in China? How is that okay? How is bringing back the original director of Guardians of the Galaxy, who said some questionable things on the Twitter, bringing him back into the fold? That's okay, but wait, like she makes an interesting parallel storyline about Nazi Germany and the current state of America. There's probably better ways to make that analogy, but she wasn't doing it in a hate spewing way. She was doing it in a comparative way, which maybe it's a little more extreme, but it is kind of extreme here. Things are kind of iffy right now. So she makes this statement, and it was the last straw. It was the last straw. She had posted something about not wearing a mask, and that's when the cancel culture started. And then she said this, and that's when that cancel culture started. And now she's fired. Pisses me off, man. I mean, it's yet the only remedy, and this is a quote, I can't remember who it's from. I know I've heard it many times. The only remedy to bad speech is good speech. It is not deleting speech. It's what the ACLU does. They say it's the Constitution. It's the First Amendment. You may not like it, but that's why we're who we are. And you can open dialogue. You can have conversation. You're not allowed to do that if you cancel somebody. You can't have here's how what you said make me feel when you shit can somebody. You can't have that. You're just like, oh, you're done. I don't even want to talk about it. We're done. Not a fan. I am glad, though. I am glad that the way season 2 of The Mandalorian ended, for me, seems like a good exit. It seems like a good, like it ended and you're like, cool. I can rest easy, not worry about season 3 and how they decide to kill off a fabulous character. Because I'm like, I got closure. A young Luke Skywalker comes in, takes the baby Yoda. It's like, oh my God, is this happening? I think I may have cried. There may have been tears. Not gonna lie. I may have. I can admit that. It's a great ending to a great story. And for me, and for what I am seeing trending on those who believe in free speech, is that, yeah, that's cool. It ended for me. Season 3, season 4, season 5. Don't need it. I have closure on the situation. But not cool. Cancel culture, not cool. I posted it on my Twitter. I still have a Twitter. Said fuck cancel culture. I think I still have an account. Maybe I should jump on and check that. Oh yeah, they don't care about me. Like what that dumbass doing a live stream show. He can say whatever he wants if he don't care. Unless it gets retweeted, then who knows. So that's wild. That's just that's the world we live in, though. And even if you're for it, if you're like, yeah, good. I didn't like what she said. She should be fired. What happens when it's somebody that you like? And if it's something that you believe in, and I'm not saying I believe in what she posted. I'm just saying everybody's always quick to be like, yes, cancel. That's it. You're done. Until it's somebody that they like, that they enjoy, that's on their side that gets canceled. Then they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I don't understand. Well, balance. If you're going to cancel this person, we got to cancel this person. You can't have it both ways. Either let everybody play, or if you cancel this person, then somebody else can also be canceled. That's just the way it has to be. That's fair. But it's not fair currently. No, it is not. Oh, let's talk about some scary shit, because this is a little frightening. I mean, that's frightening. I mean, completely taking a crap on the First Amendment, that seems kind of crappy, but this is maybe worse. Maybe. People. We have some missing explosives. Yeah. We have some missing explosives. I had to pull up this story. I'm trying to remember where I saved this at. I had so many saved stories. It's crazy. So there is I believe it's a military base. I believe it's a Marine Corps, a Marine Corps base in the Mojave Desert. Okay. That is missing some explosives. Okay. Missing some explosives. Apparently my story didn't save. So this story came out late yesterday. And apparently the investigation is underway. They won't say how much or how many or at what level of destruction said explosive could cause, but there are explosives missing from a military base in the Mojave Desert. Let me pull this story up. Telling you, by the way, people, just in case you are getting a little worried about, censorship and not being able to read stories, if you try to do research on anything and you use Google, there can be a little bit of a struggle if you're trying to find multiple perspectives on things. DuckDuckGo, I'm telling you, download the DuckDuckGo app. It is great. You get a bunch of different perspectives, a bunch of different stories. So this is explosives are missing from the nation's largest Marine Corps base, and an investigation is underway. Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center in 29 Pines in San Bernardino County, California, notified the Oranago Basin Station in San Bernardino County and the Sheriff's Department last week. Officials could not immediately be reached for comment, but the base is located about 150 miles east of Los Angeles in the Mojave Desert. The Naval Criminal Investigative Service, NCIS, wasn't that a TV show? 29 Pines. See, Hatley knows. You're probably there, weren't you? You're probably stationed there. 29 Pines. 29 Palms. Palms? 29 Palms. 29 Pines is down the road from me. 29 Palms. Marines and sailors have been participating from different units have been participating in training exercises at 29 Palms since January 15th. But they are missing a bunch of explosives from the base. They're just not accounted for. They're missing. That seems like it should have been on your news feed, don't you? I mean, I know we don't live anywhere near 29 Palms. Yeah, you were there. I bet you were there a lot. 29 Palms, 29 Pines. I think we've had brunch there. It's different. It's not the same. But you would think that would be something that really should be more out there, right? Like, and again, it's shit that I'm talking about. Nobody cares. I don't talk about aliens and stuff. Talk about rock stars and working out and I don't know, aliens, man, aliens. Maybe the aliens stole the explosives. But that's the things that are leading the headlines. Like the second Trump impeachment trial is on everybody's news feed. If you follow any news outlet or even a friend that follows news outlet, that is on. So that's trending. Obviously, it's the culture that we live in. The Gina Serrano story is trending. Tom Brady being drunk at the Super Bowl party is trending, which is fabulous. Tom Brady throwing the Lombardi trophy from boat to Gronk during their boat Super Bowl parade. That's trending. That's hot. Missing explosives from the largest Marine Corps base in the country. Buried somewhere down there. You hope it's like it just got lost, like, or like somebody didn't check it in. Like they're like, yeah, we got that and we got that, and then somebody got distracted, probably looked at their phone, so I'm like, oh my God, Gina Serrano got fired from the Mandalorian. It was like, and then moved on and forgot like something in the middle. So hopefully that's part of the investigation. Like, oh yeah, that's we just miscounted. We didn't actually lose explosives. They won't say what it was. They can't. It's probably part of the investigation process. That feels very NCIS. Like, we're not going to say, because then if someone comes forward and says what they have, we're going to know that they have it. I watch too many crime shows, maybe. I don't know. Girlfriend's got me watching Criminal Minds at night, and I'm like falling asleep to that shit. Like, oh my God, it's wild. This is why you have to like get rid of all the recipes and shit that are being fed to you on social media, and like look at news stories and be like, feel like I should be aware of this. Again, we're far away from 29 Palms. Hauled a lot of explosives. Yeah, I bet you did. Did you lose any though, Matt? Did you lose any explosives? No. You kept track of that shit, didn't you? You knew where it was. And if you didn't, slap you on the wrist. Make you do some push-ups. Make you do some PI. That's what they would have done. Yeah, it's strange. I want to talk more about this Tom Brady thing because I find it it's good for him. They actually somebody showed a side-by-side of like him celebrating his first through sixth Super Bowls in New England, right? And he's all, he's hoisting the trophy, and he's at the parade, and he's probably got a scarf on or something and some Uggs. Here dude is in like a orange pastel shirt, and he's got his hat on backwards, and he's just throwing the Lombardi trophy. He's like, fuck it, I'm the best, I'm the GOAT. Then there's a video of him walking, I think, to where they were actually holding the at the end of the parade, where like the coaches talk and the players talk, and it's all ooh rah rah, and here's just like weeble wobbling around, and people are pissed. I shouldn't say that. Some of the people are pissed, and those are usually the most outspoken. His keyboard warriors like, what is he doing? He's an athlete. He's supposed to be a role model. He's not wearing a mask. How do you drink tequila with a mask on? It's very difficult to do. He just rips all over, salt on your shirt. Even though I think he did have some spilled on his shirt though. So maybe at some point he had a mask on. 43 years old. And I am a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback that ever played the game. Talent-wise. The GOAT status goes to the dude who has 7 Super Bowl rings. It's not an argument. Aaron Rodgers is the most talented to ever play. Tom Brady's the GOAT. Dude switched teams. Well, he'll play in the NFC. He'll play in Tampa. It's nicer there. Winters suck in Boston. Wins another one. Dude has a right to let loose. He's in Tampa. They get so much vitamin D down there. They're always happy. You want to bet the people that are pissed off that Tom Brady was drunk on an 85-degree sunny day in Tampa? They're up here. They're where we are, where it's -0. Is that a thing? -0? Wind chill is probably 15 below right now. That guy is in Tampa. It is beautiful. What do we do here in the Midwest? Places that are cold when it gets nice out? Outside, having some beverages, enjoying it. I don't understand why people feel the need to just berate others. And it wasn't, the Tom Brady thing was mostly because, A, he threw the Lombardi trophy over open water to another boat. Relax. He's got a good arm. Clearly. Didn't have that single coverage. Gave up a touchdown, Kevin King. Sorry, Packer game still angsty. And then the drunk thing. He's got somebody's walking with him, just holding him. I'm like, he's got his own guy. How great is that? He's got his own guy to hold him up. How many times I would love to have my own guy like that, dude. It's like, we're just gonna walk you, and everybody's happy. He's like, it was up. And there's a picture of him holding his daughter. Are you having cocktails with your children around? What sort of monster are you? He's like, bitch, I'm Tom Brady. He's probably got people there. He's like, let's pick my daughter up. I'm going to hold her and love her. Be like, oh, this is so great, isn't it? This is better than celebrating the Super Bowl in Boston. It's probably 40 below there. It's great. And then he's probably got a nanny or a manny or something. There you go. Watch her. I'm going to go party. Me and Gronk going to do some spikes. But no. The Twitterverse and the comments on Facebook and every other place you can put your 2 cents in is filled and spewing with hate. All those people are not wearing masks. They are not wearing masks. Outside of Tom Brady, they're all 25-year-old athletes. They're fine. They take care of themselves. They are healthy. They know the proper supplements. They have magic things they put into their body. Makes them kind of immune to almost everything. But they're drinking in pub. You ever go on vacation? You have a long stretch of work. You're working all the time. Maybe you get a little break here and there. Maybe you get a week. During that week, it just sucks. You're just thinking about work. Then you get a vacation. Somewhere nice, somewhere beautiful, somewhere with beaches and sun and drinks with umbrellas in them. Yeah, you enjoy it. That's what they just did. For 30 weeks. There's no real preseason, I guess. There's no off-season stuff, but still, they're working hard most of the time. Workouts into starting the season, 17 weeks, 1 week off with the bye week, into the playoffs, a week off to prepare for the biggest game of the year. Then you're done with work. Then you're on vacation. And you go somewhere nice. They're already somewhere nice. They're in Tampa. It's beautiful there. It's just not a good example. What, that you celebrate being the Super Bowl champions? That's not, no? Well, it's a pandemic. It's Florida, okay? Okay, it is Florida. Florida doesn't play by the same rules as the rest of us. Texas doesn't play by the same rules as the rest of us. We should be thankful we are not playing by the same rules as a place like, I don't know, California. They're having fun. Let them have fun. But we can't. Something crawled into our DNA that said we should just say some shit. And there's probably people out there that have that genome, something that holds them back, even though they want to say something like, I'm not sure if I agree with this, but they don't. But for the rest, something changed in our DNA where we just have this feeling like we need to put our 2 cents in. We got to. We're gonna tell Tom Brady, oh, it's not okay. My name is Karen, and it's not okay. My name is Todd. It's not okay. I don't know why. I don't know why there's that necessary thing in a lot of people nowadays. Something happened. Now we just feel free to curse out anybody. Is it a Mike Tyson quote? I think it was a Mike Tyson quote. It was like the reason, and I'm probably not getting it right. It's probably not spot on, but you can duck go it. Don't Google it. Duck go it. He's like, the reason that people say the things that they say on social media is because they have no fear of getting punched in the mouth. None. People are saying I saw one of the comments on one of the many videos that are out there of Tom Brady celebrating, the Buccaneers celebrating, about somebody should take away his kids. Somebody should take away his children. That's what this person said in a comment that Tom Brady's never going to read. It's never going to happen. But somebody in their mind, that DNA, something changed, and they said, you know what I should say? Because he's having fun and he's not wearing a mask and he's smiling and he's in the sunshine. It does look like it's cold and bitter and shitty there. I'm going to type out, or somebody should take away his kids. The fuck? Like, where did it change? Was it the start of social media? Facebook started to be a way for college kids to communicate. And it grew and it grew. Now it's basically like having electricity. Everybody's on it. There was a time, I remember back when I was in radio, there was this big push. We had meetings about it, like, people are leaving Facebook. No, at that time, people were disengaging from Facebook. They would still go on and watch cat videos and see what you had for dinner and check out pictures of your latest vacation. And they wouldn't like it and they wouldn't comment, but they were still perusing. Now people are going away. Well, then there was a big move to Instagram. Now that's kind of become this weird space of, like, I don't know. Everybody's a IG model now. I don't know. I know that was a job. Do you go to school for that? I don't know. Maybe you do. Maybe there's an Instagram model school. It's probably in Tampa where they're having all the damn fun. But then it just became this place, and it became like, it's Twitter. Twitter is worse. Twitter's worse. I know some people who are really, if you're a sports guy, like, Twitter's great. You know, you can really, I know a lot of the sports casters, people that are radio hosts and do stuff on sports. It's a great place. That's where a lot of news goes. I mean, you've had athletes announce their retirement on Twitter, announce that they're leaving their team to sign with another team on Twitter. It's a great place for that. But it's also this, if you fall down the well, and even if you follow somebody, like I had to go through and do a cleansing of my Twitter back when I thought I was maybe going to be more active on it. Because I was like, wow, like, I didn't think the people that I followed on here were so, like, just hate spewing, like, or cancel culture, just negative. And it's not. It's them retweeting somebody that they follow. So the web just keeps on kind of, it's like when people share posts on Facebook, you're like, what the fuck is this? I thought this person was halfway sane. Unfollow. I don't even do the snooze for 30 days thing anymore. I'm like, unfollow. But it's an explosion of just spewing hate from both sides. Like, this isn't a one right, left, red, blue, LMNOP to the QRSTUVs. It's not. It's just everybody's on there. Just fuck you and put a mask on and take the mask off. And love is like, well, like, wait, like, that's why I love talking to guys like Joey Walser. That's why I love having him on, because that dude and Blake Allison, they are fucking positivity. 1,000,000% over. It is great. Talking to Todd Whitener today from Blitzkrieg. Dude was in Tantric and Days of the New. Days of the New went through some shit. Dude's just like, man, it's great. Got the guys in the studio, recorded an album. It was great. It was old school. It was fucking beautiful. Talked about vinyl records. Sitting down, listening to a whole album, experiencing things. But people get on their Facebook, get on their social media, get on their Twitters. Just heat. Going looking for things to be pissed off about. What is that? There's enough in just general life to be pissed off about if you want to look that direction. Mad. But now you go searching for reasons to be pissed off about something. On what planet is that a way to live your life? What has Earth gone into such suctitude? Seems like a good word to use. Suctitude. These people just going, just looking like, fucking Tom Brady. Gina Carano. Mad. Missing explosives. Yeah, that's fine. Just mad. Mad. Why? Why is everybody so pissed off all the time? It is so cold here right now. Nobody should have a reason to be happy. You walk outside, you're like, fuck this. You walk back in, or you have to start your car like 4 days before you go anywhere. It's that cold. Basically, we're in Canada. And we're up north. Not cool. Like, we haven't had a wind chill we had a wind chill that was 0 for like an hour on Tuesday. Otherwise, for the past 6 days and for the next like 10, below 0. Below 0. We have a reason to be mad or sad. See, my computer's starting to, it's giving up on life. It's like shutting the stream down. That could be it. I said duck, duck, go too many times or something. Find something to be happy about. Don't worry so much about other people's shit. Let Tom Brady have some cocktails. Dude deserves it. Probably hasn't drank in years. That dude eats like better than anybody on earth. Have you read TB12? His diet, it's not fun. No good. That's why he is a star athlete at 43 years old in a young man's game. In a game where 19 and 20-year-olds making millions of dollars rule the game. Takes care of himself. Eats well. Eats really well. Eats like, bro, I don't know if I want to live forever. Let him let loose. Stop attacking. He's having fun. He's smiling. And the best part is, he doesn't care what you think. He never has. So you can spew your hate towards Tom Brady, the rest of the Buccaneers, fans that were outside of the stadium with no masks on, having a blast, time of their life. The first time a home team has had a home Super Bowl in 55 years, which means ever. Just going to be mad at them, mad at the world, mad at the politicians, mad at my boss, mad at COVID. Take a deep breath. Go on your Facebook page. Look for the good stuff. Bypass the shitty stuff. Okay, pay attention to when explosives are missing. That's a good idea. Watch that. Know that. So when you hear a story about some shit blowing up, be like, oh, I found him. Found the blows up. Look for the good stuff, man. Yeah, maybe you got a niece that's graduating high school and you're like, man, I'm so proud of her. Man, so it sucks that she had to deal with senior year like this, but bigger and better things. Excited. Awesome. Look for things like that. Happy things. People having babies. That's cute. One's good. That's good. One good. He can take care of himself basically now. He's fine. Look for those things. Look for great stories. But other edge of that coin is when you see things, injustices, look at it big picture. Look at it as a whole. Jump to the conclusion. Fuck Cara Dune, Tom Brady, Trump, Biden. You also have to defend the things that are wrong. You have to know that maybe sometimes you're not in the right. And go, okay, I see. I see there needs to be balance. I see we can't live in cancel culture or a culture that we just jump on and spew hate and live in the vacuum, live in the echo chamber of, well, I think this and everybody I know thinks this, and I'm going to say it louder than the other person who's saying that it's not okay. We all got to get along. We all got to be fly on this rock in the middle of space. You know how fucking crazy that is? Think about big picture shit. Think about it. Giant rock, molten lava, some water crawled out of the water as single-celled organisms, or double-celled. I get two-celled organisms at that time. Come from monkeys. Still here, most of us. About to colonize Mars. Elon Musk, he's like, yeah, I'm out. I'm out of here, dude. He's not out. He's the smart one. We need him. We need Elon Musk to be like, we should probably figure this out because we're about to fuck this whole thing up. We out. There you go. SpaceX, man. Smart people. Smart people doing smart things. Applaud that. Spend more time applauding that. The amazing things that the human race can do and accomplish. Stop worrying about Tom Brady. Stop worrying about Gina Serrano. Just stop. Let it go. Breathe. Have enough important things in your life that you're like, I may not think that that's the greatest, but I got this super great thing going. Super fun, super awesome, super loving, super caring, super happy. Focus on that. Spend time focusing on that. Take your hands and your angry face off of the keyboard. Off of here. Stop. We have, thank you for putting up with that. If you're still watching, thank you. We have had a great show today. I can't say thank you enough to all of my guests that were on. Todd Whitener of Blitzkrieg, their new album, their first album. This band formed itself during the pandemic, and they found a way to all get in the studio together and do it old school. That's fantastic, and he was super happy about it. Their new album is called Remedy, and it drops on February 22nd on all digital platforms, so look for that. Blitzkrieg, not Blitzkrieg, Bliss as in happy, as in find it. Joey Walser from Devour the Day and Egypt Central bands, making fantastic music, doing it their own way, independent, and Third Eye Hat Company. Please go and support those guys. They're making some fantastic stuff, and those guys, positivity beyond all that I've really ever encountered in the industry. Andrew Calvino from the Content Inspire podcast. He's doing great things as well. Down in Indiana, busting his ass, going to school, doing a podcast, fitness guru. Just follow him at Andrew Calvino Fitness, and then at Content Inspire on Instagram for him. And Joshua Toomey, the Talk Toomey podcast. Follow him on Facebook and also follow him on his Instagram, which is, I believe, at Talk Toomey Podcast. Great stuff. That was today's full show. Coming up tomorrow. What day is tomorrow? Friday. Woohoo! That means on Saturday, I don't have to talk for 3 hours, which is, I'll miss it. Miss talking to you people. But we have a great show lined up for Friday. Super excited for all of our guests. Ryan Patrick from the band Otherwise, he is going to be on. Leanne and Derek from October Rose, country artist. They're going to be up at Country Fest in Cadott, Wisconsin, coming up in June. They'll be on the show. George Dukas, my friend, my super talented country superstar, amazing writer. George Dukas will be on the show coming from Nashville tomorrow. And Mikey Carvajal from the band Islander, as I mentioned earlier on the show, or on yesterday's show. Mikey, huge wrestling fan. And Islander wrote a new entrance song for Sting. Not Tantric Sting, the wrestler Sting. So there's no confusion. Like, what the hell does Sting need an entrance song for when he enters his Tantric Love Studio? No. For the wrestler Sting. And they did a video together. It's so awesome. And I'm so happy for them. And being able to do cool stuff like that during all this. So Mikey Carvajal of Islander will be on the show tomorrow. It is going to be a Friday. It's going to be lots of fun. I'm sure more shit will hit the fan in the universe. So we'll have that to talk about as well. So until then, until tomorrow, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like each page that you're watching on, and please jump on Twitch, twitch.tv/NoLimitCooper, and follow, and also download the Twitch app. It's free to download. It's free to sign up for, and then just search for No Limit Cooper, and you can follow the show on there. We do a bunch of cool stuff with clips of the show, so you don't have to fast forward or watch your favorite part. You can just go to the clip and check that out. So that's on twitch.tv/NoLimitCooper. Until we meet again tomorrow at 3 p.m., take care of yourselves. Be happy. Smile. Stop posting shit on Facebook that's mean to other people. Okay? Cool. Love yourselves. Love one another.